Race fans, the 100% Cup Series welcomes you to one of the most historic venues in all of NASCAR's circuit. This track broke ground in 1949 and opened in 1950, 72 years ago. It's Darlington Raceway for the Throwback Week. I'm Andre Grambush, joined alongside Corey Silva, and of course Carlos Acosta back in the booth, pushing the buttons, bringing all the action to your TVs and computers. And we've got a few minutes of practice left before we get ready to the grid, so a few minutes to discuss the track conditions here, as well as just general expectations. Corey, good to have you back in the booth, and tell you what, it's going to be one of the most interesting races of the year. Definitely one of the longest in terms of time, 347 laps, I believe, around this nearly 2-mile circuit. It's going to be grueling. It's going to be difficult. What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, it's the toughest track on the schedule. So you're going to be the entire time. You don't get a break here. It's not like a Texas or a Charlotte where you can kind of let your guard down. Every single lap, you're fighting that car. You're trying to keep it off the wall and constantly looking out to try to gain the spot. So these guys will be busy for 3.5 hours, and it's going to be physically tiring, mentally tiring, and well, at least we get to look at some pretty cars while we're doing it.
Also, just a correction, I got the lap count wrong. I don't know why I had 347 in my head. It's actually 293, so a little bit short of what I was thinking. 293 laps around this track, the egg-shaped circuit, as they call it. Turns 3 and 4, of course, being a lot tighter than 1 and 2. And I tell you what, I've been talking to a few of the drivers, including my own, being a team owner. I've kind of been involved listening to what these guys are doing with their setups, and it seems like everybody's just kind of winging it. Corey, I mean, nobody really knows what to do. Not only has there been a lot of updates to the simulator that changed the physics of this car over the last week or so, but also this track just in general is hard to build a car for. They say if you're fast in 1 and 2, then you're going to be slow in 3 and 4 and vice versa. The question is, what side of the track do you want to be good at?
It's a very interesting question, and I'm not quite sure I have an answer. I know I spent some time earlier this week on the iRacing, the official, some truck series racing, and if you're good through 1 and 2, you're going to get a run down the backstretch, but it's really hard to pass on the inside in 3 and 4. So if you get a run through 3 and 4, it's really hard to make a pass in 1 and 2. So it's it's kind of like a Pocono. You kind of have to just pick where you want to be good and just make the most of it on the other side of the track in all reality.
Absolutely. My personal preference whenever I was setting cars up for this track, even all the way back to the old EA NASCAR games, I always tried to make the car as fast as I could in 1 and 2 because, like you said, you carry a lot of momentum through that corner. It is the longer of the 4. And so when you rock it down the back straightaway, that's a whole lot of momentum that you can use to make an overtake. And 3 and 4, well, you're not in 3 and 4 quite as long. It's a bit more of a hairpin. You spend less time overall navigating those turns. So if the car is a little bit slower, in my opinion, that's all right. But I know some of these guys, they want it to be comfortable in 3 and 4 because if it's not, it's not a very far distance to go before you're hitting that outside wall, which, just a little bit of a fun fact I mention every time we come here, but the racing surface was not meant to be the racing surface. Originally, the drivers were supposed to race down where the apron is, and that was the racetrack, and the sort of banked section on the outside was just to catch any runoff. But then eventually somebody figured out pretty quick, hey, it's faster to be up on this banking, and that's where everybody migrated to. And so what we wound up with is a track that is a lot narrower than a lot of others on the circuit. And then around the early 2000s came the advent of the safer barrier, which just served to narrow the surface even more.
And then there's the I don't know if Carlos, our blimp shot, can capture it, but the actual reasoning as to why this place is an egg shape is I believe it's outside of current turn 4. Yes, it is actually outside of turn 4. That little minnow pond. The original owner, he wanted to build a traditional oval, but he didn't have rights to tear up that minnow pond, so they had to make one of the sides of the track shorter to fit within the confines of the land he had available, which is another reason that Darlington does have that classic shape.
It's really interesting how little bits of fate and luck here and there can just change the course of history into creating something so iconic like this track. I mean, it's a fantastic track, and I know it's a lot of people's favorites. And would it be as iconic if it didn't have the design that it has? If that little minnow pond wasn't there, would Darlington be as iconic as it is today? It's just fun to think about.
Yeah, it would be an old school Atlanta or a current-esque homestead, I guess, if you will, albeit a lot narrower. It would have been interesting to see what would have happened if indeed those guys did run on the flat all these years, to see how this would have raced as a flat track. But obviously that's not what we have. We do have the the high and alternate banks, 22 on one side, 25 on another. And again, the hardest part is these, you can see right now, we're looking at the entry of turn 1 on your screen right now. And back in the day, Andre, even like late 90s, early 2000s, you never considered running side by side through turn 1 ever in the real world. But both in the real world and on iRacing, you really have to have some guts sending it on in there, because turn 1 is going to be a place to make passes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the safety of the sport has come so far, and I think it's done a lot to embolden these drivers to make moves that they just never would have before. And you're absolutely right. Back in the day, going side by side through really either end of the track, but yeah, 1 and 2 primarily, it was a death wish. It was legitimately dangerous, and it was a scary thing. This track has definitely had its fair share of hard hits and crazy incidents over the years, and luckily, as things have gotten safer, it's kind of become a little bit less intimidating. But the Darlington stripe is still a thing. You're not going to die if you scrape the wall, but you're going to get a little bit of damage. And one thing we've seen about this car, Corey, is that the damage is wildly inconsistent. Sometimes it seems like these cars can just take a T-bone to the door at 110, and the driver takes a tow back to pit road, fixes up the damage, they get back out on track, and they're fine. Other times, we've seen drivers in the 100% Cup Series just kind of scrape the wall, and something in that alignment gets knocked out askew, and suddenly the car is essentially undrivable. So I gotta wonder, how careful are these guys going to be when it comes to staying off that wall and preventing themselves from getting that Darlington stripe, because it might be a little bit more impactful now than it has been for the last few years.
Yeah, I think we're hoping to have that fixed in June. There was rumors we were going to have that fixed with the updated model on this car a couple weeks ago. Fortunately, that got delayed, so I think by the time maybe June comes, maybe that'll be resolved. But most certainly the case, Andre. I even relate back to Bristol, where you Bristol dirt. How cautious do you want to be running that fence at Bristol? Because you don't want to damage the car too much. So, do you want to go all the way to the fence and within inches the Larson line, or are you going to run a little bit more conservatively? But you know how these guys race, Andre. If you race conservatively, someone is going to take advantage of that, and it's going to cost you some spots.
Absolutely. The competition level in this league is so intense these days with the drivers that we've attracted. It's really not a whole lot of time to relax and take it easy. You pretty much have to be on edge at all times if you want to be able to compete, because if you take it easy, like you said, there's about 30 cars behind you waiting to pounce, and that's exactly what is going to happen. But we got about a minute left in practice. These drivers are getting ready to finalize their last bit of practice and head out to the grid. Now, I know it's a little bit early to be making picks, Corey. We usually wait a little bit longer into the event, but I'm going to go ahead and make my pick already. That is going to be, knock on wood, don't want to give him a commentator's curse, Bryson Hixenbaugh. The reason for that is Bryson has won here more than any other driver in the 100% Cup Series. He's led more laps than the rest of the field combined at Darlington in this league. And he seems to just be relatively dominant. Going into this race, everybody, Jonathan Delaney, Robert Miller, everyone was saying that 63 car is going to be the car to beat. So for making picks early, Bryson Hixenbaugh is mine.
And I'm going to go with the 16 of Blake Giglio, just not based on long-term trends, but just based on how he's been currently in the races I've seen. He's been knocking on the door and week after week having these top 5 runs. So I'm going to give that 16 car a shot, because he has, looks like the Biffle ride here this week. I think he's going to put it in victory circle.
And that Biffle paint scheme is a beauty. Let me tell you, I do love a good throwback, and that's an interesting era. You don't see very many throwbacks to the old COT era, which is probably for good reason, but that was one of the better schemes for sure. Anyways, we are on the grid. So, Corey, do you have the starting grid available to you?
I most certainly do, sir.
All right, well, I'll take 1 through 20. I'll hand that off to you then. On the pole tonight is going to be Ralph Hutchison in that 54 machine. Hey, we said it right this time, Ralph. Bryson Hixenbaugh to his outside is going to be the completing factor in row 1. Adam Benefield, Robert Miller, row 2. Row 3 is going to go to Lucas Hoitzma and Alex Murray. Row 4, Jason Baker and Cameron Stone. Ryan Ducombe and Jason Gibson is going to be row 5. Row 6 goes to Matthew Long and Blake Giglio. There's your pick, Corey. Pretty good qualifying effort out of him with a 29.768. And the row behind them, Sammy Borey and Taylor Stout. 16 and 17 goes to Kyle Lamon and Jordan Sailors. 18 and 19 are going to go to Robert Tracy, Sean O'Brien Jr., and behind them, Jason Taylor and Raymond Reed.
All right. And in the 21st spot, well, actually, on my end it says Roots in 21st, but we have Hodgson in 22nd, Chad Edwards in 23rd, Tanner Marty going to be in that 24th position. 25th, we have Devin Medeiros, Dalton Mobley in 26th, Mason Mowry and Michael Christopher 27th, 28th, Brandon Pierce 29th, Ryan Samuelson in 30th, and then quickly rounding out the field, we have Randy Drumhill at 31st, Patrick Mouche in 32nd, Trad Sanner and league admin Damaris Hickenbottom in 34th. We have Cody Burke in 35th, Alex Princeton, John Delaney, Preston McRae, Kevin Steele, league admin, and Tim Rell rounding out your 40-car lineup here tonight.
Full field here at Darlington. How quickly will they be thinned, though? That's the question. Darlington, of course, again, notorious for giving cars the Darlington stripe and some fast action. We'll see. As I want to point out, the number 63's throwback is a throwback to a car in which, in Bryson's own words, it is a car that there is only one grainy picture to prove that it even exists. So in his mind, he's got a pretty good throwback. And of course, the sponsor is one of the fantasy sponsors, a bit of a double throwback. It's one of the fake sponsors from the old EA games before it breaks auto parts.
Nice.
So as he rounds 3 and 4 alongside pole sitter Ralph Hutchison, he's going to take the green, and Ralph in that purple 54. It catches the eye and it catches the green as well because he is out and away far ahead of the field. He's going to leave Bryson about 2 car lengths back. And Robert Miller in that number 15 machine, which is actually running the correct number. There was rumors that Robert was going to run the incorrect number and just take the penalty because he won for the throwback, but I suppose he changed his mind. Side by side for the lead, Bryson Hicksonbaugh down to the bottom. He's bringing Robert Miller in tow.
Yeah, that 63, your pick, Andre. He's obviously he must have heard your decision there because he's going for and trying to make you proud with it. He's going to take that lead, complete lap number 1. We have Hutchison in second. Hutchison, we kind of know he's a smart driver. I don't think he's going to put himself in a precarious position. He's going to save those tires and try to, have the long run speed if indeed we do have it. Saw someone hit the wall there on the back of the long shot. Don't know who that was. I believe it was actually Sandy Bury. But so far, after lap number 2, everybody in a single file lane and driving with their heads on and trying to get through this difficult racetrack.
Yeah, you don't really want to be racing too crazy too early at Darlington. Going single file is the best way to make sure you make it to the end. One thing I like to keep an eye on throughout the course of a race, if you know me, is the track temp. And what I find interesting about the track temperature right now is it's about 107 on the asphalt, and the ambient air temp is about 79. Why I find that interesting is my team in particular was talking about putting the cars in practice sessions and trying to build setups based on private test sessions. And it seemed like whenever they set the session to be the same general time frame as when this race is set in sim, they were getting some of the hottest temps they'd ever seen, up to 130 degrees on the track surface. So that is far warmer than what we're seeing right now. So some of these guys may have some unexpected grip, but I got to wonder if the day goes on, maybe the track gets a little bit hotter.
Yeah, we'll see. It looks like in sim time, virtual standard time. I do have to give credit to my buddies at GSRC for that one. VST right now, we're at approximately 3:40 Eastern. Well, VST, I just said that. So over the course of about a 3-hour race in mid-May, we're going to be going to about 6:30, 7 o'clock. So I think the sun will start going down. We won't have the lights, but we'll have a little bit more shadows on the track. So we might have a little bit cooler track conditions later. I thought I saw somebody get really loose there. That was the Tide ride of Robert Anderson. He got super loose there off of 2. You could see some significant damage to the left side of his machine.
And while that is going on, Robert Miller makes a dive bomb for second place. He's going to do a bit of a slide job on Ralph Hutchison. It's going to put him firmly up into second. Ralph with a great qualifying effort, but I got to wonder if maybe he's got a long run set up overall with the way that he's starting to slip back a little bit. And we know that historically Ralph has kind of built pretty good long run cars, so we'll keep an eye on that. While these guys are racing, though, Bryson Hicksonbaugh just driving away with it. At the moment, it's about a 0.9 second lead. Oh, now it's 1.2 as they cross the line, so pulling away even more. That 63 on rails now, as Ralph Hutchison loses another spot there, though, to Adam Benefiel in the 83, rocking a Dale Jr. throwback. Of course, Adam Benefiel affiliated with Junior Motorsports on the esports side of things. So kind of a throwback to the boss man, as he would say. It's a pretty good looking car, Corey.
Yeah, I think I'm going just a couple spots back to Lucas Hoitzma, I believe. Is that an old Circuit City? Is that old Hut Strickland throwback, late 90s? A lot of these drivers in the race probably weren't even alive when Hut Strickland was racing, but I can't think of who else that would be.
I believe it is. Also, on your screen, we're kind of following along with another throwback, the number 4 of Chad Edwards. Now, Chad was a little bit secretive about what paint scheme he was bringing to Darlington tonight. All he would tell anybody was that it was a quote-unquote top scheme. We did not expect that he meant Carrot Top. So, he has thrown back to probably one of the worst paint schemes, in my opinion, in the history of the sport, that belonged to one of the best drivers, Ken Schrader. And I can tell you, Kevin Steele for Apex Designs, he made that paint scheme, and he regretted every second of it. He absolutely despises Chad for making him do
Oh,
that.
and
Oh,
commentators curse.
into the wall. That's, well, Carrot Top, more like Crinkle Cut, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna solely 100% blame you on that. I mean, he was in a kind of precarious position there, just side by side, getting passed through 1 and 2. We know how hard that turn 2 exit comes up on you, so not the best position to be in. But we'll see if Carrot Top with a even worse haircut, if he can manage to survive and make something of the rest of this 280 some odd laps we have left.
And as you can see by that GIF shown by our producer Carlos, he did not approve of my crinkle cut joke. That was a bit of a dad joke, I admit. I apologize. Uh, but anyways, as that's all going on, we got our first Darlington stripe of the night going to Chad Edwards, or at least the first that we saw. Somebody else may well have gotten into the wall at some point. But I'm taking a look at the gap, and once Robert Miller got up into second, he's not falling back too far to Bryce Nixonbaugh. He's only lost about a tenth over the last 3 or 4 laps, so very closely paced. And actually, that time he was faster by about a tenth, bringing it back to 1.2 from 1.3. So Robert Miller, for the last 3 laps, clicking off laps better than our leader. I don't know, that 15 machine's coming to life.
Yeah, we've seen him race after race, always having a nice ride.
Oh! Tim Rail in that 55 machine is going to take a hard hit to the inside and no yellow flag.
Yeah, that is an iRacing, obviously we talk about the real world, but just iRacing nuances. Darlington is a really difficult track to actually get, Barney the Flagman to throw that yellow. There's so much quote unquote off track area here that if you spin down to the inside, below, let's say 4 lanes from the top of the track, it's not going to trigger Barney to throw a yellow. So if a solo car spin like that, it's very common for it to stay green.
We were talking a little bit about that Circuit City car. It is a great paint scheme and looks to be a fast paint scheme too, because he's actually right on the bumper of Ralph Hutchison now. Seems to be a little bit quicker through 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 seems to be his weaker end of the track. So we'll see if he can get a little bit closer, maybe get himself within striking distance. He kind of drives down the banking in 3 and 4, or 1 and 2, I apologize. And that's what gets him a good run down to 3 and 4. But what you're going to see here, I think, is Ralph's going to run just a little bit higher, and he's going to use that momentum to pull back away on the front stretch. And that's the sort of duality that we see. Some drivers are going to be good in 1 and 2, some are going to be good in 3 and 4. And what I like about that is it really challenges these guys, because if you're racing really close to somebody with a completely different setup, their pace is going to be wildly different. They may not be running the same times as you, so it really makes you focus on the drivers around you to figure out where are they fast, what lines are they running, and if you can do that, you can keep yourself safe.
Yeah, and that's something that, again, in my personal experience a couple days ago, I noticed is you'll see a lot of drivers run those conservative lanes about maybe half a lane off the wall, and that if you just run a little bit higher, you push the envelope a little bit higher on the track, you'll get a little bit better run on your corner exit, and that might be what you need to get a run and make a pass. So in kind of the risk versus reward, assessing the competition and kind of figure out what you're trying to do with it.
And iRacing has done a good job over the last year or so implementing the sort of wall of air that you get riding up against the outside safer barrier that kind of prevents you, it kind of pushes you away from the wall. It's a pocket of air that does build up in real life as well. And they implemented it, and it was a little bit glitchy, a little bit weird at first, but they've kind of tweaked it over time. And it seems like now, with the way that it works, these guys are much more capable of running the high line here at Darlington, because a couple years ago, you'd see these guys hugging that dashed white line down on the bottom just to keep themselves safe.
Exactly that. See on your screen right now, we have talked a little bit earlier about Robert Anderson. He was on screen, and then we kind of showed some battling back there about through the mid-20s, so a lot of good stuff going on there. You can see that's John Delaney. He's in that gaggle. See, he started at the tail end, and he is currently up to, looks like 18th.
Man, oh man, that is a gaggle of cars. Battle for 17th between 6 drivers, starting with Raymond Root, ending with Dalton Mobley. These guys are bumper to bumper. They're kind of driving like it's the last lap. You can see Mobley there diving down to the bottom. He's trying to maybe make a move.
Yeah, I do quite like that old Jeff Gordon throwback. Same era as what we see Willie B running in tomorrow's race.
Oh no.
Someone to the inside there on the front straightaway.
But did they keep it off the wall? That's the question. It's Gibson.
Yeah, 09 of JC Gibson. It looks like I'm trying to make out what that scheme is implementing there. Kind of has some, can't quite tell if it's a throwback, but either way, right side damage to his machine, and looks like he's just trying to get out of the way and find a safe space on the track, or perhaps coming to the pits, I believe.
Doesn't seem to be any left side damage though, so that tells me he kept it off the inside wall at least, which bit of a saving grace. He's gonna have to bring her down.
He just tried to pit and he missed the pits, which is actually something I can't believe we didn't talk about, Andres. This must be the most difficult pit entry on the NASCAR circuit under green flag conditions. So easy to not know where the turning point is, not slow down too much, get the right turn in and not speed. There's just so many things to worry about coming into the pits here under green at Darlington.
And the apron is so slick. I mean, you go from that banking down to that apron and you just have no grip, and you're still cranking on that wheel trying to get down to pit road and also trying to woe the car up down to pit road speed. It's something you got to practice. I got to imagine a lot of these guys in this race probably dedicated a decent portion of their private testing just to getting down pit road, because this race, with the way that iRacing works and how they throw their cautions, you do tend to get a lot of single car spins and a lot of action, but yellow flags can be pretty uncommon. So it would not be unexpected to have some green flag stops, and if that happens, you got to be prepared.
Exactly that. You'll see some drivers try to, almost do what we did at Dover and just pull right off the banking. You'll see some drivers kind of almost act as if it's a pit access lane and enter off of 3. And, there's obviously one way that's faster, but there's one way that is safer. So, again, that's kind of the risk versus reward, which really is just the entire vibe of the Darlington Raceway.
It absolutely is. Speaking of pitting and fuel strategy, I'm not sure if we talked about the stage lengths tonight, but stage 1 is going to be lap 90, and stage 2 is going to be lap 185, with a little over 100 laps to the end after that. Lap 90, I would imagine, is not quite doable on a fuel. So there is more than likely going to be a late green flag stop if these guys don't get a caution. So that's pretty interesting. You don't always see stage 1 green flag stops with the stage racing, but this track, being as unique as it is, providing a bit of extra challenge for these guys.
Yeah, I would take a guesstimate that typically these mile-and-a-half-ish, I mean, I know it's not quite a mile and a half, but, close enough for the sake of mathematics, that usually we can go about 60 laps on a tank of fuel, maybe 65 absolute tops, but if we are kind of banking on, going green for the entire stage, why not just split it right down the middle, go 45-45? But I'm also a terrible crew chief, so I highly doubt anyone will do that. But we're coming up on lap number 25 right now. We're on lap 25, so the window would be opening up pretty shortly for those potential stops.
And I'll tell you, I'd have to agree about splitting it in half, because this is not a track that I'd want to spend any more time than I need to on old tires. I mean, 1 lap extra than I need to on old tires is a risk that I don't need to take, because, again, that outside wall is so close at all times. It is looming over you, and all it takes is just getting into the corner 5 mile an hour too quick, cranking on the wheel a little bit too hard, and you're going to find yourself in the death skid up to that outside wall to get a Darlington stripe. And the fresher your tires, the less of a chance that's going to happen. So I'd imagine that maybe splitting in half would be the call. I think you're absolutely right.
Someone just took a hard right on the front straightaway. I think that's the 33 of Tracy, but he's in that area that we talk about that's off the iRacing track per se, and it does keep us under green flag.
So again, Darlington kind of proving that a lot of single car spins, not too many cautions. I want to point out our leader, Bryson Hixenbaugh, really slicing and dicing through this traffic. A moment ago, he had to dive down. Let's take a look at the replay of the incident that occurred with that 33 machine. Coming out of turn 4, top of your screen, just a little bit squirrely, and then, man, how many times have we seen a snap over correction, Corey? This car does not seem to like countersteer.
Yeah, you can see the 56 of Lowry, who's kind of rocking the Bobby Labonte vibes this evening. He was close enough that, it could have just been Tracy just getting loose on his own. There could have been some aero. We know how significant aero is and how well it's modeled in this car from an iRacing perspective. But either way, Tracy is going to, have to suffer on and see if he can make anything out of the remaining part of this race. And still have Mason Lowry on screen now in that 56 car. Really nice ride, that Bobby Labonte vibe. And then just ahead of him, we have Nolan Hodgson, who we're going back old. I want to say, is that Neil Bonnet, Country Time esque vibes there? I'm trying to get on that number 42 machine.
I think that's actually a little bit older than that. I want to say it was is that a Marty Robbins throwback?
That would even be before my time. So even if anybody in our YouTube chat lets us, let us know, because we are curious individuals here, and we'll be talking all race trying to figure out these answers. So let us know in that regard if you're watching live right now. Just behind him, that was
I was right. That is a Marty Robbins throwback. I just had to throw that in there. I was correct.
All right. All right. I'm sure you'll screw one up later. We'll even out.
Oh, I will. I absolutely will.
All right. As Hodgson will get by, as well as Pierce in that number 38 ride. They'll get by, as Lowry will drop back just at 2 more positions. But I do want to quickly touch on a point that we brought up probably about 15 minutes ago at this point. Talking about like Hutchison a little bit earlier while he was dropping back. Darlington is a track, at least from a sim racing perspective, that does change a lot over the course of a race, because you know how the dynamic track system works with all the rubber going down. This isn't like a Charlotte or Atlanta where the rubber is all over. All of these guys are running the exact same lane for hundreds of laps. So much rubber is going to go down that it genuinely does affect the car quite significantly from lap 1 to lap 200. So a good car now may not be a good car at 150, 200 laps.
Absolutely. We're going to have to wait and see, what cars get a little bit better, what cars start to fade, and honestly, what drivers get better and what drivers fade. Because again, this is going to be a bit of an endurance event for these guys. So few cautions, such a long time spent in that car. It's going to be rough on everybody. I also want to point out, the point I was making before we kind of cut to the 33 with his moment, Bryson Hixenbaugh has been working his way through lap traffic, as well as Robert Miller and Adam Benefield. These 3 drivers have been just sending it in on these lap cars, because honestly, they have no other choice. It seems like their section of preference to get around these guys is either on the back straightaway, allowing them to kind of slow down and lift, or going into turn 1, where Bryson has kind of sent it in on the banking a couple times, down towards the apron and kind of through a slider on the lap traffic. But the reason I want to point it out is because this track has to be the most difficult for navigating lap traffic. There's nowhere for you to go. There's nowhere for them to go. Really, they have to be willing to intentionally concede that position. And even then, they have to know where they can safely concede it. As you see Bryson getting on the bumper of another lap car, he's going to dive down low in 3 and 4. And he's going to take it down to the apron, sort of like he did in 1 and 2 earlier. 3 and 4, not the place to do that, though. He loses some momentum. He's going to fall back behind him. Now he's probably going to replicate the move coming down the front straight away. There he goes. Again, taking a shallow entry into 1 and 2. But it's going to be so difficult all night, because there's never going to be a moment where he's out of this traffic without a caution.
Yeah, and that was Hixenbaugh, league admin there. I think he's going to be one that you'd expect to play nice, where it's his park, so he's not going to ruin it himself. So, but the point is definitely there. It reminds me of almost like being at a road course through like the S's or something like that, where no matter what you do as a slow car, they have to follow you through, and you're really going to affect the outcome of the faster guys around you. And I know myself, when you do have a wreck, and at Atlanta or Charlotte or Texas, you just get out of the way and just putt around for 250 laps. It's actually stressful as a lap car, damaged, trying to putt around here, because, like as you said, you either have to run all the way on the flat or just really just up and pray that you're not gonna, cause any kerfuffles while everyone's trying to get around you.
Yeah, looking at the timing and scoring, looks like we might have a battle brewing between Hutchison and Hoytsma. I was talking about that earlier. These guys were kind of bumper to bumper, just kind of waiting on each other to make a mistake. But so far, neither one has made a mistake. That gap has remained very steady as they navigate this traffic. 54 has done a phenomenal job just being consistent and not cracking under pressure. That's another thing, man. It's so easy to crack under pressure here and just overdrive. The corners are so inviting. They kind of fool you into thinking that you can go a little bit quicker than you can. You got to keep your head on you at all times, and you don't want to be mirror driving and going in a little bit too deep just because there is somebody behind you. You see on the lap time comparisons there, Hutchison just a little bit slower by a few hundredths on multiple laps, but right there gaining some time by courtesy of the lap cars. Weitzman fell back a little bit further. You're going to have the number 4 to contend with now as well. So it's not just the leaders dealing with the lap traffic, Corey. It's a gaggle of cars everywhere.
Yeah, indeed. Those I can't quite see who it was. There was that white and red machine that they were passing that did get into the wall, and that's something that as a lapper or as anybody, you're going to be behind a lot of people in this race trying to set up passes, and then they're going to get a Darlington stripe right in front of you, and you're going to have absolutely no time at all to react to that move, because if they hit it in the wrong spot, you can't turn down the track, you can't slow down in time, you can't do anything. So that's another dynamic to Darlington is you might not hit the wall, but the fact that somebody else does could very well affect and take you out of the race.
Got another good battle going on right here between Alex Murray and that 28 Davey Allison throwback and Adam Benefiel in the throwback to the boss man. These guys have been really close. Actually, Alex Murray closing in the last few laps. Now he's within striking distance, and look at this. Benefiel's actually just going to hand it to him.
Yep.
He went down low, let off, and I think that's a smart play. You don't want to be too aggressive early in this race. So big respect to Adam for kind of saying, all right, I'll let you go now because I'll get you back later.
Yep, and just quickly going back to our leader real quick, you can see that essentially now there's about 3 to 4 cars. He's in, he's in the back of the field right now. He is, in the heart of the field. That's about 3 or 4 cars now separating Hixenbaugh and Miller. So now Miller should have an easier job getting through just due to the fact that the leader has the hardest job, and usually lappers don't fight second, third, and fourth nearly as hard, but still you can just see that Hixenbaugh has such a gap right now that it's almost for Miller. You almost have to figure out which one is the leader. There's so many cars in between.
It is a big gap, but it's shrinking. Last I looked, it was about 2.3 seconds. Now it's down to 1.5. So I don't know if Bryson just got caught up on some lap traffic in an inopportune place, or if Robert seems to be coming to life. I know Robert for LMM, he's been talking a lot about the setup all week long. And initially, the setup that we had kind of built was really good on the short run for about 10 laps. And that's not good for anybody. That's not doing any favors. So he really was working and focusing on getting a better long run setup, and I never really heard back from him whether or not he succeeded in that. So I guess we'll find out on track, huh?
Yeah, we will. And well, one thing that we also have to watch on track, Andre, is that we are closing in on the halfway point in the stage where we had a loose estimation of right here. There may be something going on from our producer on the back end there. Saw some smoke.
Sammy Borey?
Yes, it is. 64 ride. See, maybe we can queue up on replay what happened to him. Some right side damage on that 64 machine. So,
oh,
yeah,
we got another car, the 38 of Brandon Pierce. He got a little loose on the front straightaway, tapped the inside wall, got it going in the right direction. So, starting to drop like flies as these tires wear there.
Yes, indeed. So, and that's more of a reason. I'm pretty sure Pierce was just one of those massive oversteers on exit, but this is more of a reason to try to split the stages, as we do have a replay on screen right now. I think that's a Sammy Bury on the top section of your screen there. See, and we do have some pit stops up front.
Man, got to give credit to Sammy Borey, though. That was one heck of a save. I mean, that thing fishtailed twice on him, and he brought it back both times. That was an incredible piece of driving.
Yes, it was. And, Darlington's a track that at least you do have a ton of real estate when those things do happen. So you do have a ton of asphalt to make some stuff happen here. But we do have some drivers on pit road right now at the halfway point in the stage. I see Robert Anderson on pit road, and we do have 38 of Pierce, trying to see if any top runners, Hodgson on pit road. So we'll see if any of the top 5, any of the leaders break.
Marty Robbins' car coming down to his pit stall. Probably won't be too long in town. Hopefully the pit crew's got that got the air gun on his hip.
And typically what happens, especially on these tire wear tracks where we're running about second and a half, 1.1 3/4 seconds off of our fresh tire pace. Once one guy in the top 5 really bites, that is the kind of the trigger that everybody has to go, because you don't want to stay on the track when one of your competitors is running 2 seconds a lot faster, because you're going to have to make up all that time. And whether or not you can do it by the end of the stage is you don't really want to put yourself in that position if you don't have to.
Yeah, I don't want to take any unnecessary risks for sure. I'm a little surprised how long Bryson is staying out, as well as Robert Miller. These guys, of course, some of the fastest cars on the track right now, but they could be losing time to these guys coming
Hutcherson
down.
on pit road. He was a top 5 driver.
That could be a good play right there. I could see him cycling out a little bit as Lucas Hoitzma also coming down pit road before our leaders. I think this is the move. I think coming down now is a good call.
Yeah, so maybe instead of just doing 50-50, just slightly skew it. So maybe you can just, put a little more oomph into it on the second half of the run. So somebody breaking down there to the pit lane. Here comes Miller, I believe. So far, so good. We've seen a bunch of drivers come down pit road, Andre. So far, haven't really seen anybody have any issues with the pit entry here. Just shows the skill in all the practice that goes in, as we talked about. The most difficult pit road. Everybody's getting down just fine. Delaney's breaking down, and now pit road is a busy place.
Oh, it's getting real busy. Delaney and Giglio. Oh, there we go. Boy. Well, commentator's curse, I suppose.
Yeah. Leader is breaking into the pits right now. Here comes Hixenbaugh in that 63.
And Adam Netherfield's going to follow Q.
Yeah, so far, so good. Maybe I could try to see what happened there on that little pit road incident on the entry. But either way, everything's staying green. Again, Darlington is doing what we expect. If you spin in the wrong spot, you're not going to cause an accident. So a lot of guys have had some small issues, but either way, 51 laps under green. Kind of be interested to talk to some of these drivers, maybe on the stage breaks, if that's what they expected and that's what they banked on, Andre. If they actually thought this thing would go in this manner, and if their strategies were suited for it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, again, you don't ever really know what to expect. I feel like a lot of these drivers do know that Darlington tends to be a little bit more forgiving with the yellow flag, but at the same time, yeah, the track's more forgiving with yellow flags, but we got a full field here. And you never really know how that's going to go. You don't know what kind of pile-ups or parking lots you're going to see when you got 40 drivers going neck and neck down the straightaways, barreling into the corners. And so far, they've done a phenomenal job keeping it clean, but who could have predicted that, So Bryson cycling out of his pit sequence here. We're going to see where he falls in line. He is ahead of Robert Miller, so he keeps that
Not
gap.
by much, though. Not by much. It's only about maybe 3/4 of a second. So I think that extra lap or so that Hixenbaugh did run in comparison to Miller, actually, it was only 1 lap. So that 1 lap took a 2-second lead and put it down to about 0.6 of a second.
Yeah, I can't say that it surprises me. This is a track that will eat away at your tires. It's a very old surface, a very rough surface, and you're going to see those lap times fall apart very quickly. And so 2 seconds per lap from new tires to old tires, that's about on par.
Yeah, just that. We do have some more takers on pit lane right now. Taylor Stout on pit lane. I saw Root in the 8 machine. Remember your Bristol Dirt winner in thrilling fashion that we had there. So we'll see if he can make something happen on the tail end of this race. Waiting for things to shuffle by. We have, looks like about 4 guys still waiting to pit. Ammon, Princeton, and Bird. Looks like Princeton is now going to be your leader.
Looks like Kyle Lehman on that number 5. He's coming down pit road, so that'll give Princeton the lead if he doesn't follow him down, which I think he might have. Cody Bird still staying out. Well, good to see Cody Bird back in Cody Bird form. That's kind of been his strategy pretty much forever in this league. It's just to stay out as long as humanly possible. Maybe get some camera time if he can. Unfortunately, coming in just before he's able to get the lead, but still getting some camera time. So there you are, Cody.
Nope.
Say hi to Mom.
Bird's going to have a good race today because we're not on PTR TV and he's not on a webcam segment. Because every time we did a webcam segment with Bird, something happened to him. So I'm pretty sure that's a PTR TV curse. So he's going to have a good run just for that alone.
Yeah, we will see.
Princeton staying out on the track right now. I'm pretty sure that's Carrot Top has had a little bit of a strike.
Oh Oh no.
Oh,
Oh, that's bad.
something going on down the back straightaway.
Another huge moment out of Sammy Borri, I believe. Just ping-ponging between cars on the wall. Somehow nobody wrecked, but he's going to bring it down pit road. League admin Damaris Hickenbottom came on the driver radio after that happened, said, "What happened there?" And somebody said, "A lot."
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see if we can get that queued up in a second for you. But yeah, he just pancaked the wall and kind of just slalomed his way as if we were on a ski resort with some flags to get around. And luckily, everyone did get around him. So they're doing a very good job to hit the wall, but they're also doing a better job to not involve everybody else. Replay is on your screen right now. Look at the top half of your display. In the wall again. Some go high, some go low, and magically everything just works out.
Cameron Stone's probably seeing that near wreck happen in front of him, and he's just seeing his life flash before his eyes. He's had an eventful career here at Darlington, and by eventful, I mean he's been involved in a lot of incidents here. He's even been involved in an incident which I believe got him suspended at one point back in the first season of the league. So not his favorite track, and to be able to avoid that, maybe putting a bit of confidence in that second machine.
Yeah, any amount of confidence, especially early in the race. He's Stone's in 12th, so still gives him plenty of time. You know, I can't do math. 293 minus 58. Not going to do that in my head, but that's a lot of laps to go. But we do want to quickly, you can look at the intervals on the left side of your display. We talked about Hixenbaugh only having about 0.6 over Miller on the outset of pit lane. That gap is now 2.5 seconds. Now, I don't know if that's lap traffic, if Miller is just cruising, or if really that one lap difference in tires is that substantial. But definitely Hixenbaugh has the jets on right now.
I think it's a little bit of everything. I think having one lap better tires is a small advantage, and of course, getting through lap traffic is something that Bryson's been really good at tonight, maybe better than the rest. So a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, and that results in him having a 3-second lead at the moment, with not too long to go in this stage, just over 30 laps.
And we are down to approximately, or factually, 18 guys on the lead lap right now. Sean O'Brien is the last one on the lead lap, and I'm just looking at our intervals, Andre, and O'Brien 27 seconds back. He'll be a lap down, not too far. A bunch of guys are 22, 23 seconds a lap down, 22, 23 seconds back. So realistically, we could be down to about 13 guys on the lead lap by stage end of this rate.
That definitely could be. It's not a rarity, I would say, in this league. We've seen a few races where it seemed like only one car would finish on the lead lap before a caution saved a few drivers that were able to get away around it. I think the fewest cars we've ever had finish on the lead lap was 2. I want to say that was at Bristol, but I could be wrong. I have a terrible memory. I just remember the number 2. So we'll see. I mean, Bryson, if he
Caution, first caution of the race. All that goes in the trash. Try to see where the incident stemmed from. It looks like a Country Time 13 machine. Commentators curse, Andre. Commentators curse.
Perhaps that might be a bit of a commentator's curse. We'll have to queue up a replay and see exactly what happened to the 13. I'm not sure why he's not moving.
He spun out by himself. That's entirely your fault, man. That's entirely your fault.
Hey, now, I'm not the one that said he was going to have a good run.
We can't even blame PTR TV tonight for that one, so it's entirely, but jokes aside, Bird did kind of just give up. Maybe he took a little bit of a roll and just said, hey, this thing's not driving right, but he is rolling now. I think that thing is slightly crab walking. So we'll try to get back to the pits and see what the damage is, and, you know, maybe see if it's worth fixing or not.
Ironically, Cody Bird running a throwback to Bryson Hixenbaugh, who was the current race leader. He and his teammate Kevin Steele are both running paint schemes that are pretty much identical. Back in Season 1 and Season 2 of the league, Bryson Hixenbaugh ran a very simple scheme. He would just kind of palette swap it out for different various sponsors, and he ran a very basic Arial font that, for whatever reason, he was very fond of, and everybody kind of poked fun at him for using an Arial font on the number, but eventually this year he upgraded the number font with the next-gen car, and I guess his team isn't done ragging on him for it, because they've got that Arial font, they've got that old paint scheme, and they are rocking it here tonight as he is running a new paint scheme.
Yeah, I mean, Isn't it the new day and age where we simple is more better now? So we'll see how that is. But it looks like kind of got a cue from our producer here that we do actually have a couple drivers choosing to stay out here. It looks like Giglio, Stone, and Steel, if my telemetry is right, staying on the track. It looks like they are 15 laps on their tires as well. So that'll be an interesting call as we are what is it, 25-ish laps from the stage. That's a long time to stay out on super old tires, unless they choose to pit this time.
Well, if they are going to stay out, I can't say I blame them. I think if there was ever a track where you have a chance to hold up the cars behind you on fresher tires, it's this one. I mean, it is quite literally a one-lane track. You can really do a lot to make your car wide and prevent the cars behind you from passing, even if they're faster. We saw a lot of that in real life today with the Xfinity series. It seemed like passing was really difficult even for the faster cars. So I'm not going to say they have a good chance at it, but they have as good a chance as ever, I would say, for Giglio, Stone, Steel. These guys on slightly older tires staying out and seeing what they can do.
Yeah, I mean, we do have, if I'm reading the reading the information right, 9 sets for the race. So that's usually one on the car, 8 in the pits. 8 sets of tires does sound like a lot. We've already burnt one. So for most of these guys, they'll have burnt two. And we're only, again, I don't know why I want to do percentages in my head so bad, but we're less than 25% of this race down, and most of these guys have used 25% of their tires. So that means you don't have any to spare if that continues. So maybe saving a set, you're thinking, short-term loss, long-term gain, maybe that kind of approach.
And this is a track where Robert Miller knows the tire limit all too well. I believe it was either last year or the year before. Robert Miller had the car to beat. Everybody felt like there was just nothing they could do to keep up with him. But unfortunately, he used his tires up quicker than anybody else. He was the only car in a late race restart that could not come down pit road and take a fresh set of tires, and that cost him dearly. So I think a lot of these drivers taking two, I mean, it's going to help them now, but it's a risk.
Yeah, it most certainly is. So, I mean, we'll see if it pays off because then what do you do at the stage? You're going 25 laps, you're going to pit at the stage as well. That'll be 3 sets of tires burnt in one stage because you're not going to want to stay out, most certainly not going to want to stay out on the stage caution. So, yeah, we'll just, you kind of make your bed and you have to learn how to lay in it as we are getting some wave arounds now. And Giglio and Stone will be our front row for what's actually going to be the first restart of the race here on lap number 66.
And with how difficult it is to pass here too, another thing that might have gone into their decision to take tires is, they want to be able to get out in front of these guys and not fall back on older tires, because if they do fall back, then they pit at the stage. Well, then they're going to be way back in the field. They're going to have a lot of cars they got to pass, and I think some of these drivers are willing to burn some tire sets just to make sure they've got the best car at all possible times. But again, risk versus reward. If you use them up too quick, you won't have them at the end.
Caution just got delayed, so we will go one more pace lap.
Oh man, interesting. Yeah, I think the wave around just needed a little bit more time, and I think that's a good call. There are occurrences, even in real life, where you've got the wave arounds coming up to the back of the field at pretty much Mach 1 because they just reach the field as the green comes out. That's never a good thing. I think delaying the green, getting these guys caught up and sorted out where they should be, probably the safer option.
Yeah, that's something that was very common. We've seen that a few of the short track races we covered where we kind of expected there to be a restart. And, they had been like to take the safer approach, which is kind of the best way to do it. Make sure everybody's where they need to be. Nobody is, you know, having some problems catching up. We have guys up to speed, guys going slow. All that can cause some problems, but it'll be interesting to see. Now, how far back, Andre, do you realistically think these guys might fall, or rather, how high of a position do you think these guys had stayed out first and second on these old tires?
Well, going off real life, today in the Xfinity race, we saw a few drivers stay out on older tires and make a swing at it, and we were able to hold off the leaders for a short period, and then they fell back about 10 to 15 positions. So I think if these guys are not on the ball with defense, we could see them fall back to mid-pack, but it depends as the pace car pulls off to the left, and look at that. Blake Giglio in that 3M machine with a fantastic start on the outside. Does not look like Cameron Stone's going to get clear of Bryson, which is not good. He wanted to get in front of him, be able to block him if possible, but he's going to be side by side with the 24 behind him. now slotting safely into third place as Blake Giglio is going to try to do everything he can to run away from that charging 63.
Yes, he is. And we'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to take too long at all. And you can see that number 16 Biffle design, and it looks even better because it's not on a Ford. I'm on a Ford guy. Sorry for our Ford fans out there, but I'm going to take a gather that Hixenbaugh is going to probably get him on the back. He got such a good run there off of 4, again, using those 15-lap pressure tires, headed through 1 and 2 right now. Giglio is hanging on pretty well, but this is where I expect that run to be had. Hixenbaugh could just cut so much better on those fresh tires, going to get that run to the inside, take him down and all the way to the apron, try to pull off a little slide job of sorts. Not going to be necessary because Giglio is going to give him the space.
And as we get a new leader, just a quick update on Sammy Bori. He is manually disconnected, taking it behind the wall, so the Dunder Mifflin paper car has been shredded. If you hate the puns, I'm here all night, folks.
So we'll see we'll see. I'll try to come up with some as the GIF or GIF on screen, fight as you may over the verbiage on that. But you can see here that looks like everybody's pretty well sorted out. Everyone's kind of in a good position right now. Giglio still running in second, Stone running in fourth, but here comes Delaney. He took a look there off of 4 into turn 1, but stayed in line. Hoytsman just behind him, so we'll see if Delaney can get that spot on the 57. He'll have to run down the back this time, see if he can clear it in 3 and 4.
Delaney is having a very Allgaier day. Today in real life, the Xfinity Series Allgaier started in the back, raced his way all the way up to the front of the field before the end of stage 1, then went on to win the race. So with parallels between Delaney and the number 7 machine today in real life, maybe John's got a shot at this thing.
Well, John, he has a shot every single race. I think he just made it interesting today by starting in the back as 97 doing the Tokyo drift off of 2 there all the way down, got sideways. He made that right rear really angry, but luckily he has a car in one piece, which is the more important factor of that matter. As just in front saw Medeiros and Hodgson. I think that's Medeiros rocking the JJ scheme tonight, that number 20 ride.
We do have a car down on the apron, not exactly sure why, but Alex Princeton is running the bottom of the track now. He's going to blend up onto the back straightaway. And looks like the number 28 machine, 1.2 seconds back. We'll see if he's able to close that gap at all, but Jonathan Delaney lurking not far behind. He is catching up to Murray in a hurry, so hey, that rhymed. I didn't even mean to do that, but looks like, according to our producer, John Delaney just set the fastest lap of the race here for me.
Yeah, and that Delaney doing Delaney things as verbiage I kind of made up there, and he's right to that back bumper of Murray right now. And you can just see how well he cut from the top to the bottom through 3 and 4 there, set himself up for the run, get side by side, and Murray's going to use that classic Darlington etiquette, kind of, and let him go, not without a total fight, but, kind of pressured him a little bit. Gave him that spot. So now Delaney up to second, 1.25 seconds behind Hixenbaugh, 15 laps in the stage. We'll see if he can eat into that gap.
Adam Benefiel, another driver, working his way through traffic. He just got around Blake Giglio. Now he's got a little ways to go before he gets to Robert Miller back in P7, who himself is in a bit of a battle with Ralph Hutchison. Ralph taking a line very similar to the leaders in 1 and 2. It seems like Bryce Nixonbaugh likes to enter down on the apron and then arc it back up and then cut back down, a bit of a diamond line. It's exactly what Ralph is doing, except his car doesn't look quite as stable when he does it. Like, the setup just is not there. So that's going to allow Robert Miller to get a bit of a run after he got a little loose. Now Robert Miller moving up to P5, I believe, actually. As ahead of him, he's got his teammate, Lucas Hoytsma. And Jonathan Delaney just scraped the wall.
If Delaney hit, everybody is capable of hitting the wall here at Darlington. There's nobody who, I'm not going to say nobody, but I highly, highly doubt anybody in this race is going to have a clean right side of their car. And if they did, I don't know who said it, but if you don't hit the wall here, you're not trying hard enough. That's basically, some legend said that at one point or another. Do have on your battle, we do have our multicam on the screen right now. I'm trying to see who that is on the top side of our screen right now.
Looks like Sean O'Brien Jr. in the 65 tailing the number 77.
Yep, that Dalton Mobley, we were talking about him a little bit earlier, but now we'll show you on the screen Cameron Stone. Remember on those older tires, back to the 13th spot, started on that front row, back to 13th. Giglio back to 9th, so Giglio faring a little bit better. But, you know, for Stone, it's not over, to quote Chris Daughtry there. It's not over. He's going to lose some more spots. It's only a matter of bleeding the damage till we got 11 more laps to the end of the stage.
11 more laps to the end of the stage, and don't look now, but Delaney is still catching up to our leader as we have this really good battle between Cameron Stone and Kevin Steele. But Jonathan Delaney, 6/10 of a second. Look at that. Look at that differential. 2/10, 600ths, 2/10, 1/10, 1/10. That 6 car is on rails right now.
And the last thing that anybody wants is Delaney to get control of this race, clean air, control the restarts. That's the last thing that anybody wants. And, well, sorry to say for those drivers that it seems like it's going to happen. Now, the million-dollar question is, does it happen before the end of the stage, which is only in 10 laps? Because, you know, at Darlington, as we said many a time, you can get to them, but passing a driver who's of comparable pace to you is a completely different ballgame, especially when you have a playoff point on the line.
Well, and here's the problem for Jonathan Delaney. The cards, even though he's got a good card, the cards are stacked against him, and I'll tell you why. Number one, he and Bryson do not like each other, and they are not afraid to put the sheet metal to each other if it needs to happen. And this is kind of Hicksonbaugh's turf, so to speak. This is Bryson's favorite track. You only get to come here twice a season, and so Bryson largely feels like this is his best shot to win. So when you see that guy that you've got a rivalry with coming up in your mirror, a guy that you know is going to race you hard, I think sparks are inevitably going to fly. But also, we've got a second rivalry with Jonathan Delaney, and that is of Cameron Stone, who is not quite around him at the moment. But Cameron Stone is not happy with that number 6. Going into this week, he said that his only goal was to make John's life, and I quote, a living expletive. So 2 drivers not very happy with that number 6. So he's going to have to use that fast machine to its best ability if he wants to get to that checkered flag.
And lap traffic was Delaney. Well, if Delaney has any friend, it was lap traffic, because that took him right to the back bumper of Hicksonbaugh. Used that number. I think that's I can't quite make out who that was, but use them as a pick. And here comes Delaney trying to do that famous cut off of 4, pull side by side down the front straightaway. Is Hicksonbaugh going to use the Darlington etiquette, or is he going to drive it in? He's going to use the etiquette and let him go.
Yeah, it looks like he let him go for now. He's going to slide up to the high line and let the number 6 drive away for the moment. Again, they've got just under 10 laps to go. I believe 6.5 as they round 3 and 4. I think John's got a really good long run car. Bryson knows that it's just a stage. No need to get too aggressive at the moment. But, yeah, new leader, John Delaney.
Yes, indeed. And he should just kind of drive off and, you know, barring any last second, this odd opportunity, he should drive off, take the stage, just trying to look around and see what else we got going on here. This is actually towards the end of the stage points. Matt Long in that 97 just took that 10th spot, knocking the stage point away from Devin Madeira. So that was a good battle. That gives Long that extra playoff point, or rather standings point. You know, all the fun stuff that comes along with playoffs these days. So it looks like we'll just kind of cruise this out. Giglio, we'll see if he can hang on. He's in 9th right now. We'll see if he can hang on. You know, still get a stage point off that strategy and save a set of tires. That would actually work out pretty well for him if he can do that.
Yeah, of all the cars that did not take tires, Giglio has fared the best. I mean, staying inside the top 10 on just about 25 lap older tires, that's an impressive feat.
And then that works out because, like we said, depending on how this thing shakes out over the next 200 some odd laps, that extra set of tires may just be what he needs. If we go into overtime, you know, you can just make up all these countless scenarios as to how that can come into play. But I do want to point out, Andre, that Hicksonbaugh hasn't fallen off. In fact, the last time by, he actually was faster than Delaney, and he's still hanging in there within a quarter of a second. So I don't know if he's kind of found a last-ditch breath right here for the end of the stage, or maybe Delaney made a mistake, but he's kind of staying with him a little bit.
Unfortunately for Bryson, he had a bit of a big blink there. Lost a lot of time because I think he was just taking it easy, trying not to get too close to anybody while he was blinked out, and it lasted almost half a lap. So Bryson is no stranger to internet issues. He's had some problems in the past with blinking and sometimes even just straight up disconnects. So hopefully that is not a trend that continues. But alas, they're going to come to lap 89 out of 90 for this stage. So given that we have to complete lap 90, they've got two more times around this track, and we're going to see if Bryson can do anything with it.
Yeah, just as I said, he was closing in. I saw him on our faster lap. Looks like that was just maybe just a one-off deal, but either way, he is staying with him as we come down to take lap number 90. And again, there is kind of a little dynamic that, our admins are driving. So sometimes the caution might come out a lap later. Just kind of depends when they can manage to cue Barney and tell him to throw it. But here we are on the last lap of the stage, and that gap just now about a half second that Delaney has over Hickson-Boss. So I don't really think we'll have a stage battle for the win unless maybe something happens in 3 and 4, which knowing Delaney, I think he's going to do just fine and be a little conservative with it.
Well, and Bryson's pace has improved ever since Delaney got in front of him, and I got to think maybe he's just learning a little bit, watching that six, seeing what lines he's running, and kind of figuring out what he's doing to get that extra speed, and it is helping. He's not closing in, he's not faster than him at the moment, but he has improved his own personal pace, and I think that is largely just due to observing and figuring things out. And that's one thing Bryson's always been good at, is adapting. Just watching what everybody else does and try to apply it to himself.
Yeah, sometimes the arrow of being up front, different car, is that is our caution there for the stage. So Delaney goes 37th to first in 90 laps and gets the playoff point and the 10 bonus points for winning the stage. So again, if he can do that in 90 laps, watch out. We got 200 more, and he's in control of this race. So definitely going to take some strategy to take this win away from him tonight. But again, that's why we battle 200 more laps, and we're at the toughest track on the schedule.
Still a lot of cars in the game, too. I mean, the field has not thinned out a whole lot, other than Sammy Borey taking it behind the wall. Taking a look at the timing and scoring, we've got a lot of cars, a lot of laps down, but really we've still got 34 cars that are actively competing. Tim Rail is 15 laps down in 35th. But Ryan Ducombe, Alex Princeton, Preston McRae, these guys have had issues, but they're still on the track. So a lot of competition still left and a lot of unknowns that will come to reveal themselves as the night goes on. 63 entering the pits right on the bumper of the six, maybe trying to increase his chances of getting him on pit road. Of course, you do have varied pit stop times on iRacing. They're not all identical. Just like real life, your pit crew can be fast, your pit crew can be slow. So if you come into pit road right behind somebody, you got a solid chance of maybe getting out in front of them.
Yeah, and Darlington does have one of these weird pit roads too. As I can see where Delaney is actually like a little bit of a jut out in the pit wall, and then towards where the leaders are on the turn one side of the pits, there's another little jut out there. So kind of just a weird shaped pit lane here. Sometimes that does, make things interesting with pit out battles, but we'll indeed see what happens if Hickson can retain the lead, or, well, rather take the lead if Delaney does. Here goes Delaney. Delaney will get it just fine. Murray almost got him there, but be 1, 2, 3, just as they were before the caution.
Murray's team was, they were fast. That was a great stop out of that 28 team to get them up into third there. Looks like we're going to have a few cars either pitting next time around or possibly taking a waiver round. We'll have to wait and see. But I tell you what, why don't we dial up our stage winner? If I can find him in the chat. Give me one moment. John Delaney, you got a copy?
Yeah, I do, Andre.
37th to first, John. How?
I don't know. The car is insanely fast. Yeah, we were just picking them off one at a time there, and got lucky with that caution that kind of stacked us up together, and I was able to go get Bryson.
Yeah, that car looks like it's on rails. Sounds, I can hear it in your voice. You're having a blast out there. You having a lot of fun in that car?
Oh, I'm having a blast. Maybe I should start from the back every race, because that was a lot of fun working my way up through the field like that. Usually I started on pole, so I haven't had to really worry about passing a lot of people to get up to the front. So, but now, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun.
To pass 37 cars on a track this narrow, what's the strategy here? Where's your preferred passing zone?
So, yeah, first of all, you gotta set them up in 1 and 2, kind of back up the center, in 1 and 2, and then kind of just drive it off of 2 and down the hill and try and get a run on them down the back. And I've been able to kind of run the bottom in 3 and 4 pretty well. I've been shifting in 3 and 4, so I've been really able to get a good run off of 4. So really both of those coming off turn 2 and off of 4 are really been my best passing opportunities.
All right. Well, you're going to be going green soon, so we'll put you back up with your team. Good luck with the rest of the race, John. And yeah.
Thank you.
Put him back up into his team. Go ahead, Corey.
And that was kind of that's something we kind of omitted talking about too, Andre, is the 5-speed transmissions here. And I did watch it in the real world where 3 and 4, these guys typically going down to 4th and then maybe start finish line going into 5th, using that momentum all the way down the back straightaway. So something that we really haven't talked about, but just again a new feature of the next gen that these guys will have to learn to maximize. And clearly, with his happiness and his position thus far, Delaney seems to have maximized that strategy and that skill set.
Yeah, really sounds like he's having a lot of fun, and that's all. I mean, that's what it's all about. Getting out here, having some fun. And I've always said the best part of racing, it ain't really about winning. I mean, winning's great, but I think the funnest moments in racing are just battling around other cars, being around your competition, and just seeing how it goes. So just stacking up against one another. And John, like you said, he hasn't had much of an opportunity to do that this season. He started on the pole. He's done a lot of dominating, just kind of out and away, and the only time he's been around other cars is when he's around lap traffic, which isn't really the same as racing for position. So a track like this, not necessarily one that you'd think you can make that many passes, but he's doing it. He's having a great time, and I think a lot of these drivers are having fun because this is one of the most difficult tracks on the circuit. But I don't think these guys race these cars because they're easy. I don't think they do this league because it's easy. These guys love a challenge, and this track is just right up their alley.
Yeah, exactly that. This is a track that that you can get on the wheel and make some time, and you also know that you can get up on the wheel and lose some time. It's not super calculated. While aero is a big deal here, just having the natural skill, having the guts to run 3 inches off the wall and cutting it off the apron and then getting 3 inches from the wall again. It takes a different kind of driver to be well here. And those kind of drivers, such as a Delaney, when you figure it out, it is super enjoyable. I kind of relate Martinsville in that same sense. Once you figure it out, it is just an absolute blast, even just by yourself, let alone being able to dominate your competition.
Absolutely, and now we're going to be back at it. More action to come as the pace cars coming through 3 and 4 for the final time in this caution segment, as they're going to make that exceedingly hard left turn, one of the hardest left turns down into pit road that pace car is going to make all year, in fact. Field in the hands of Jonathan Delaney, who interestingly chose the high line. We saw that a lot in real life today as well. Leaders seem to like that high line, and for good reason. He's going to rock it out to about 2-car length lead. Adam Benefield with another great start. Can't forget to mention that. Look at that. He's going to get to the quarter panel of Bryson, but he's going to have to concede it going into the corner. Single file 1 and 2, but behind them we got a little bit of a battle. Robert Miller, Adam Benefield, Alex Murray. These guys are under a blanket right now. And the first side-by-side battle is all the way back for P6. Lucas Hoitzma, Matthew Long. These guys working their way through 3 and 4, side-by-side.
Now, this is the time to gain the spots. Everybody's bunched up. Some guys are going to be overly cautious, and that gives the aggressive guys an opportunity to gain a couple spots while guys aren't really fighting too hard for it. So this is really where you want to get those spots if you can. We saw Hoitzma and Long going at it and clearing those spots, but so far everybody else seeming to be snaking down the back straight away. Looks like Giglio trying to take a spot on Hodgson there. That's going to be for 8th.
There he goes, chasing Marty Robbins through El Paso. He's going to try to get around him on the bottom, and not quite going to complete the pass there. He's going to try it again in 1 and 2.
Almost on the 20, trying to figure out where to go. Do I go with Giglio? Do I go with Hodgson? And well, he didn't either. He stayed in line. Kind of interesting dynamic to see how that worked out. Giglio with a little bit of a break loose there off of 2. Again, everybody's having issues getting loose off the corners here, and we've seen a couple drivers have to retire from it, but definitely it is kind of fun seeing him wheel it off the corner, but a little nerve-wracking at the same time.
Oh, it's so nerve-wracking. I mean, back with the Gen 6, you see him get a little bit loose, you don't think much of it because the spoiler on that car was so big. If you just centered the wheel, let off the throttle, it was like a parachute was attached to the back of that car, and oftentimes it would just correct itself. This car doesn't do that. Smaller spoiler, completely different mechanical components underneath that chassis, and you got to drive it to bring that thing back around when it snaps like that.
Yep, absolutely no, like hardly any side force on this next gen Gen 7 car, where we have that small rear spoiler and that diffuser. Somebody there had some issues off before, got a little bit loose, but again saved it. But that diffuser that we have that creates that under downforce, however, under downforce, I think you know what I'm saying. It doesn't like when the car is sideways. It doesn't create side force. It doesn't create any kind of downforce when the car is yawed out. So when these guys are breaking loose like that, you don't just lose a little bit of grip, you lose all of your downforce, and that's what makes them lose control so much.
For a podium position, we got a battle, Robert Miller and Alex Murray in that Davey Allison throwback. Looks like, ooh, oh man, that was close. Robert Miller getting a big run out of the corner. He's right on the bumper of Murray. Murray likes that high line, but it seems like he has to lift a little bit to keep that car stable. That allowed the 15 to get a run down the straightaway, and now, as they round 3 and 4, Robert Miller's going to sneak by on the inside up to the podium.
Yep, and I'm pretty sure Murray just gave it to him because that normally would not have been a move that would have worked. He didn't have much position entering the corner there, but managed to clear. So I think Murray just kind of said, hey, it's early in the run. Let's just go for it. We're going to be running to lap 185. So we should have, if it does stay green, we'll have another battle of which, where do you make that middle pit stop? So we have plenty of time to kill, plenty of time just to cruise around, make some laps. Delaney only up by about 4/10 up front. Over Hixenbaum. We'll see if Big Mac of Miller in that old school. I don't think we've even talked about him. We've been talking about him on camera, but we haven't really talked about the paint. That super retro, probably like 93 era Bill Elliott scheme. If he can close in for the top spots of the podium.
Looking at scoring and timing, and Robert Miller may not be the fastest car on the track, but he's definitely one of the most consistent. He ran lap 102 at a 29.640 and 103 as a 29.630. So just a hundredth of a second between them. And that last lap, 104, 29.639. So only a few thousandths differential. This man that's robot consistency right there.
I mean, that's how McDonald's makes their cheeseburgers now, right? It's all in a line. Every single one is perfect. So he's acting the sponsor exactly as they would like him to.
Also should point out that just about 5 laps ago on lap 100, Robert Miller did set his fast lap of the race with a 29.476. Compare that to the fast lap for the drivers ahead of him. Bryson Hixenbaugh, if I scroll through scoring and timing, where is his fast lap? His fast lap was all the way back on lap 3. That was a 29.454. And for Jonathan Delaney, his fast lap came on 74, and that was a 29.395. So the only driver in this top 3 to break into the 29.3 bracket.
And I think we were talking a little bit earlier about the track temp and how it was going to progress over the race. And I'll give you that stat, Andre, because I know that's yours. But I do want to just notice from a visual perspective, as the race is going on, and we are elapsing more time, you can see that a lot more of this track is shaded, as it is getting more in. Well, the sun is starting to go down over the course of the virtual evening here, so that's going to add to that grip and help those lap times get faster and faster.
Yes, sir. We've dropped 3 degrees on the track temp, 101 Fahrenheit. The air temp hasn't changed. It's still 79 degrees, just like it was before. But the track with the extra shade and the shadows casting on the surface down to 101. So a little bit more grip, and some of these guys that built their setup for a hotter temp may be feeling a little bit bad about their car right now. And some of the guys who planned on this cooler temp, well, they're feeling pretty good. I'll tell you what, this battle for the lead, I don't know what these guys did for setup. I'm not really sure what Ace Moneymaker did for their car or what Delaney did. I know they got different setup builders, but regardless, they are so similar in pace. When you mentioned the gap being 4/10, that was like 15 laps ago. And it's still 4/10 of a second between these guys.
And it's both a blessing and a curse, because you can't get away from your competition, which means that if you do manage to get to him, it just makes it that much harder to pass, and you really have to be that much more calculated as a driver. Where is he struggling? Where can I even get the slightest bit of advantage on him to try to maximize it and make a pass? Or if you're Delaney, what can I do to even get that inch further out? Because we're just essentially rubber banded right now, for bringing up old NASCAR video game terminology. We're essentially rubber banded together, and we just can't seem to get too far apart or too close together.
Don't even make me think about the rubber banding AI. That was the most frustrating thing. You'd have a fast car get out to a 10-second lead, and then all of a sudden Bill Elliott has a 400 horsepower bonus on his car and catches up to you going 315. That was...
Oh,
You gotta
oh,
love the
that
old
I
games.
think that was the speed comp. You'd wreck. You'd be about 25th against your buddy in split screen, and then all of a sudden you're going 190 at Bristol trying to catch up. Those were good times. Again, it's retro weekend, so we get to have fun with these old school references.
Yeah, I always made my dad turn that setting off because he would always use that to his advantage. He'd be way back at Daytona and get that 300-mile-an-hour engine, and I'd be like, nope, we're turning that off.
Hey, remember back in the day when Daytona wasn't even in the NASCAR games? If we're gonna go back old, because
Yes, sir.
Sega had the license for Daytona USA when it wasn't even Daytona. It was essentially like a triangle version of Daytona, but that's what kept it out of the NASCAR games for almost a decade. Oh my God, we've advanced so far, and here we are complaining about little minor nuances with a absolutely in-depth simulation.
Yeah, that is kind of comical. I mean, this simulator is there's just so much to it. And you think back to my first NASCAR game, NASCAR 99 on the N64. You didn't have the full field of drivers, you didn't have all of the tracks, and you had one song, "Surfing with the Alien" by Joe Satriani. It just played on loop 24/7. And you had two voice lines from Benny Parsons. He'd say
Oh
things like,
man, oh man!
"Yeah, I was gonna say, man, oh man," and they're
That
trading
guy's got to
paint out
keep
the
it
hurt.
on. That guy's got to keep it off the wall. And then
Yes,
Bob
sir.
Jenkins would have his couple lines. What would Bob Jenkins used to say? I can't even remember. Well, that man is going really fast on the track. Like, oh my God. But again, this is why here we are 25 years later, giving you a TV style broadcast of a super in-depth racing simulation that's accredited by the most largest racing sanctions in the world, which just shows how much this world has progressed.
And we can't talk about the old NASCAR game quotes without referencing the one that I've probably said the most over the years, and that's, "How about you sit up on the pit box and I'll drive?"
Oh, yes. And then we even had in the console era, you'd have almost like the Coke versus Pepsi, where you an EA guy or were you a NASCAR Heat guy? Because NASCAR Heat had Alan Bestwick doing all the Beat the Heat challenges and all that fun stuff with the driver cameos. I was
Oh,
more of a
yeah.
NASCAR Heat guy growing up.
I was more of an Fender guy, but we
Dirt to
do.
Daytona. I mean, Dirt to Daytona. Come on.
That was a good game. Surprisingly, I didn't play that game for a very dumb reason. I had no idea it was even on GameCube. When I was a kid, as far as I was concerned, the only NASCAR games on GameCube were 2003 and 2005. So that's what I had.
Oh, GameCube. I didn't
Yeah,
even think NASCAR. I didn't even think GameCube had NASCAR. I mean, look at they still have. They don't even have ignition, and they have NASCAR Heat Plus or something because they're as lazy as motorsports games are. They couldn't even make a full version. But motorsports games taking over the sim world. That's a podcast topic. That's not an in-race banter topic. But
yeah, that would be a 3-hour discussion.
I'm pretty sure they're actually a famous iRacing hater had on YouTube. He did have a 2-hour talk about it last night. But through all of this banter of classic gaming, remember how we talked about a 4/10 lead? It's still 4/10.
Yeah, it
They,
has not gone anywhere, and they've been working through lap traffic as well.
yeah, it just shows that the dead equal nature. Delaney last time ran a 30.56 to a 48 for Hixenbaugh, so a little bit faster there. As they cross the stripe this time by, we'll get a gander at indeed what's going on, and looks like just a little bit, well, a lot, pretty much a tenth faster in Delaney's back pocket. So now it's a half second. So through the logic of how things have been going, Hixenbaugh should be faster this time by. But look at that 15 machine not too far back. Miller, he's turning the jets on. He's trying to do a McDonald's pun, but I don't have one. But he is closing in and trying to make it a 3-car battle up there.
Yeah, it looks like he has supersized his engine because he's actually quicker than both the leaders the last time around. I'm not sure about this particular lap. Let's take a look. Robert Miller ran a 30.371, 30.376 for Bryce Nixenbach, 30.269 for Delaney. So actually, Delaney a little bit quicker that time. And Ammon looks like he might have got a little bit loose.
Try to see if we can cue that up. Some right side damage to him, but I mean, right side damage is completely normal here at Darlington, so that's not really even worth bringing up from a damage perspective. We do have it on screen right now for you. Actually, we're on board with the 15 machine, excuse me. But we'll see if we could. We have been told that Mobley Mobley in that 24 machine, the old school Jeff Gordon Flames car, he has immediately towed to the pits and does not have a front end. So not a good occurrence for them. We'll see if we can figure out what's going on. But again, through all this hoopla, still haven't had a caution yet. But I'll tell you, Big Mac is right on the back bumper of Hicksonbaugh. We do have a replay on screen of Mobley's incident. He may have had, not may, he did have some help off of 2 there, and then hard impact into the safer barrier.
Oh, man. Rear end of the car came off the ground with that impact. Jeff Gordon scheme and a Jeff Gordon-esque impact.
Yeah, that looked like that impact reminded me of Las Vegas 2007 to the inside wall there, which he deemed as one of the hardest hits of his career. I'm not sure if it was that or if it was Pocono in 06, but either way, hard impact indeed.
Yeah, it was definitely a freak incident too. I mean, it was just right where the wall inlet was at Las Vegas. I mean, just a 10-foot area that you don't want to hit, and somehow his car homed in on it. But look at this. Battle for second place. Robert Miller has got the bumper of the 63, sending it down low. That was
full yeet, going full yeet, extra mustard, hits it, and there he goes, takes the lead. See if he can throw a pickle out there for Hicksonbaugh to slip on and gain some time. Not a banana peel, because they don't have bananas at McDonald's to my knowledge, so I gotta throw something out there.
Man, oh man, I get a feeling Carlos is not liking our puns so far tonight.
I'll have to get a pun counter on the display here. That might actually be an idea for our next PTR TV broadcast as well, at the rate we've been going at. But one lap 124, again 185 in stage 2, so that leaves 60 laps left. So I think we started this on lap 80. Is that when it was? I can't even remember when the last stage was. Lap 90. Lap 90. So we're 35 laps into this. So I'm going to take a gander at seeing some pit stops roughly lap 150? Question mark. But if you are maybe on the tail end or losing some time, maybe you want a short pit and try to gain some time. We saw in the case of Giglio, you can kind of sustain on older tires and, you know, hang on. So maybe a short pitting if you're dropping back might not be a terrible idea.
I would agree. I think some of those guys last time stayed out a little bit too long, and they're probably kicking themselves for it. So maybe not going to see as many long runs here if these guys were paying attention to the trends. I'm no Larry Mack, but I think the trends of the race is that we haven't had but one caution for cause, and that one caution was kind of a freak deal. So you can't really expect to come down pit road and get trapped a lap down. But as I say that, of course, last week, Robert Miller was trapped a lap down and under very strange circumstances as Kyle Landman. That'll be a yellow.
Incident with the 89 machine, and again, due to the nature of Darlington, and I can get into the algorithms in a little bit, just due to the nature of how cautions are triggered on the iRacing service, replay on screen for us, it's very hard to throw a caution.
Oh, the 89 just turned him.
Now, I know the algorithm pretty well as to what constitutes caution. That looked like it should have.
The way the 89 veered back up into traffic, that's what caught my eye. That's why I said that was going to be yellow, but I guess somehow.
So for all of us nerds that like math, Carlos, I don't know if you still have that little math overlay that you used to have, but basically what triggers a caution is if a car is at a 45-degree angle to what the standard racing surface is, and another car passes by that car while the other one is at a 45-degree angle on the racetrack, that typically triggers a caution. And it looked to me that one car was at a 45-degree angle and one car was passing them, but clearly in iRacing's eyes, no. So we stay green.
Yeah, just that was a weird one, because I would have bet money that would have been a yellow flag, but I guess that's why I'm not a betting man, because I'm not very good at it. So
that segment is brought to you by protractors.com. Robert Miller, big wiggle there down the front stretch. Maybe he slipped on his own catch up there, but huge wiggle there. He was all the way to the inside down the front straightaway. And Hicksonbaugh did get back around him. So not sure what happened there, but no longer in the second spot is McDonald's, and he'll try to gain that time. And through all of that kerfuffling, if such a word exists, he's up by a second and a half now.
Yeah, maybe he was just taking a detour down to the drive-thru.
Which maybe the drive-thru times aren't doing too well, but you can see that all these all this lap traffic, I'm going to take a gander that some lap traffic had some instigation in it. You can see the, I believe it was the 29 machine, not too far back, that red machine at the top of your display right here. He's a slower car, but he was into the wall right in front of these drivers. And I talked about earlier, if a lap car or a slower car gets into the wall in front of you, that was Tanner Marty. If someone gets into the wall in front of you, you really don't have much avoidance opportunity. You're pretty much at mercy of hoping they can correct it before you hit them.
Yeah, you really are. Your options for wreck avoidance are so limited here. It's almost like racing at a super speedway like Daytona or Talladega, where you can't really change your lanes in the corner, and you know that they're always going to spin up towards the wall, and you just kind of have to hope that wherever their car bounces is not where you are. It's very difficult to avoid things going on in front of you here, but so far, other than that incident with Taylor Stout and Kyle Lamon, everything has been more or less one-car issues. So pretty clean race thus far, but I'm going to knock on wood because I don't want to give that the commentator's curse, especially after what happened to Cody.
Yeah, literally, you were saying Cody having one of his best runs, nice, smooth, and all this good
That was
stuff.
you.
And then
Correction, that was you.
Was it? All right, fine, mutual curse, but I still blame you because you had the last line on it. But again, so far, a much cleaner race. I wasn't expecting a bad race because, again, I know how good these drivers are, but I think anybody who's within the realm of normality probably would have expected a caution, probably within the first 2 to 3 laps, because everybody is figuring each other out, cold tires, full grid. But again, it shows the skill in this league, and we always talk about the incident limit. This might actually be a good point, Andre. Incident limits here, it's not hard at all to get a 2x here, a 2x incident point by hitting the wall. Now, we always talk about wrecks and 4x's, 4x incident points. That builds up. A lot of 2x's will get you to 17 without even touching another car. Now, whether your car can sustain all that damage and be competitive is a different story.
Absolutely, it is a different thing. But we got a battle for, looks like third place, as Robert Miller, after slipping in the catch-up, as you said, has kind of fallen to the clutches of Adam Benefield. That 83 machine has been getting steadily better throughout the race, and now I think he's just waiting for an opportunity because these guys are both reeling that 63 back in. At this point, the number 6 he's gone. He's over the sunset. He's over the horizon. They're not really focusing on him. Battle is for second, and as Benefield and Miller close in on the 63, I think the deciding factor in this battle may be when they decide to pit. Short pitting, like you already said, that's a bit of an option for these guys, but I think that may keep the aggression levels down because they know they don't necessarily have to pass them on track if they can jump them on strategy.
Yeah, we did see that rather Miller pitted a lap before Hicksonball on that last stage, and how he degraded so quickly after that. So I almost wonder if he's going to want to be on the opposite end of it. Did get cued that pit stops are starting. Nolan Hodgson has committed his interest to pit road this time by, so he's running in 12th. So, or actually, he's running in 17th. Excuse me. So first blood to pit lane right here. But I'm wondering if the 15 is going to draw early blood, and yes, he is.
Down pit road, he's going to be the first taker among the leaders, at least, to make his way down pit road. So let's say he's going to get some double cheeseburgers, maybe some chicken nuggets with the sweet and sour. We'll see how he cycles out.
Well, he's got to be high budget with the cost of McDonald's these days. I go to Wendy's for the 5 for 5s, 5 for 4, 4 for 5, whatever the heck it's called. We saw some Noah Gragson's keeps a couple weeks ago. But we'll see indeed how he does fare down the green flag stops and how they cycle out here at Darlington. Not just the pit road time, but getting on the pit road, how well you can maintain the speed, how well you exit. Definitely a driver's pit road here at Darlington. We'll see how it shakes out.
It's going to be fun to watch for sure. Again, you can gain so much time on entry and even on exit, because again, you can't blend until the back straightaway, so you have to stay on the apron down in the marbles where it's really not very forgiving. It's a very large apron. You got a lot of room to work with, but got to be careful not to goose it, don't get on the throttle, or don't give it, as Carlos would say, don't give it too much beans, because it'll spin around on you real quick. So you can gain or lose time coming in and out of the pits.
We do have our multicam on the screen right now, as you can see different drivers coming into the pits. Let's try to see, I think RJ Root in the number 8 machine. Haven't really talked about him too much tonight. Kind of having a quiet day in that number 8 machine. He's on the pits right now, and I don't see anybody else within our top 15, but obviously it is coming. Hutchison in the Benefield, out of the 4th spot here, he comes in the 83. That's probably going to draw interest from the rest of the top 5, I would imagine.
Hoytsma, Giglio, Adam Benefield, pit road getting real busy real fast. Seems like everybody wanted to follow Robert Miller down the drive-through as these guys are going to get their cars serviced. And the 83, when he got into the pits, I don't know if we caught it on camera, it seemed like he got a little sideways when he came in, so hopefully he got the pit road speed limit. Oh boy, big lockup. Can't quite tell who that is. There's a lot of tire smoke out of our leader, John Delaney.
And when we see smoke coming to the cone, what's our first thought? Did he speed? And the way that we know is once that left side jack drops, if that car is stagnant in the stall, then there is a penalty. That's kind of the way we know, at least from an iRacing perspective, but he's clean and green as he's able to pull away.
No penalty. That had to be cutting it close, but I'll tell you what, that's exactly what you want as a driver. You want to be right on the edge. If you're questioning whether or not you got a speeding penalty and you didn't, you got a perfect entry.
Exactly. And as I always say, if you're not right on the verge of getting a penalty, you're not trying hard enough. And if you're not trying hard enough, especially in a league of this caliber, you're not gonna go too far and win too many races. So that's what you got to do. You got to take those chances. And as we said earlier, pit road is a very, very busy place. And but Hickson Boss staying on the track. He's really the only of the fast guys that has yet to pit.
And Drumhiller is coming down pit road behind him. He had inherited second through all that, but now coming down pit road, he will give that up to Taylor Stout, who is a lap down. And for the most part, everybody's a lap down except for Bryce Nixon Boss. We'll see when he comes down pit road. Sounds like he's not going to come down this time. He said, go ahead and take it, Damaris. So I don't think you'd let a car by on the inside if you planned on pitting this time, unless maybe a late entry. No, he's going to keep it going.
Yeah, he is. So we'll see what the choice is for the leader staying on the track. So this gives us 40 laps in the stage. So for your leader and for who's still up front right now, what's that lead going to be when everything shakes out after the pits? Remember, 2 seconds a lap. He keeps staying out. Delaney was about 2 seconds back afterwards. He has fresh tires. No, maths again. Someone breaks loose there.
I want to say that was Matt White, but I could be wrong.
That was Tracy in the 33, I believe.
Ooh, second big moment for him then.
But kept it going.
Bryson really just surrounded by traffic. I'm really surprised by this call to stay out as long as he is. Here goes Jonathan Delaney racing with the 57. He's going to move down low. Make the move here into 1. You heard John say in his interview he wants to set him up in 1 and 2 and complete the pass either on the backstretch or into 3 and 4. Seems like that's exactly what he's going to try to do here. A little bit of a side draft there, which isn't quite as effective, and that's something I want to talk about. There was an aero update recently, and from what I've heard, what the drivers have told me is that the side draft is nowhere near as effective as it used to be.
There was an update for this car, but I'll take their word for it. I know there was meant to be a whole aero rework, but for the next, it was supposed to come in the patch, but it didn't. But if there was something, my skill set is too minimal to have noticed, but I'll definitely take their word for it. But yeah, side drafting is definitely a huge deal on these speedways. So if that does change, and in a league of this caliber, where we do have Coke drivers coming in and upper echelon drivers, they're going to learn the intricacies of it and figure out how to maximize it.
Absolutely, they will. Jonathan Delaney now getting around the bottom of Hodgson in the 42, trying to set him up for an overtake here. He's got Kevin Steele ahead of him. Cody Bird coming across the radio saying he's going to pit. So Bird currently 33rd. He is 31 laps down after his incident. So he'll be bringing it down, and that should just about complete the pit cycle. I believe he was one of the last holdouts. Usually he is.
Yeah, we will indeed see. Interesting strategies going on, and as I think you alluded to a little bit earlier, technically everybody is a lap down right now. I think Delaney should be able to unlap himself pretty shortly, but everybody is a lap down right now. So if a caution came out, it would absolutely just turn this race upside down. I think maybe that's what Ixenbaugh is going for up there.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the thought process, but I don't know. I don't think that's worth the risk of staying out like this and the the amount that he's going to have to pay for it, because I don't really think we're going to get a caution, knock on wood. I mean, this race has been real clean. The game has been very forgiving, as we've seen, when it comes to the yellow flags. So I'm going to predict it stays green, and I think Hicksonbaugh is going to drop some positions here with this strategy.
Yeah, because right now from our timing screen that we have on the back end, Delaney at a 29.5 to a 36 for Hicksonbaugh, so a second a lap. It's been 9-10 laps since Delaney stopped, so that's 10 seconds he's lost, and he was 2 seconds back before the pit stop. So theoretically, Delaney should have an 8-second lead if and when he decides to pit. Again, I've done way more math in this race than I should have even attempted to do, and I don't have a calculator, so it's probably all wrong, but the effort that I tried, so that's all that matters.
Keeping an eye on the track temp, I just went ahead and pulled that statistic up. We've dropped another 3 degrees. We're down to 97 on the track, 78 ambient air temp. So this thing's cooling off pretty well. You can see the sun is going down further and further. A lot more shade, especially in the high groove of 3 and 4. So this track getting grippier and grippier. But despite that, actually, Jonathan Delaney on these fresh tires has not bested his fast lap, not yet at least. He's actually still running 29.6s, 29.5s versus his best lap all the way back on lap 74, which was that 29.395. So Jonathan Delaney is going to unlap himself, and I think with that, Bryson's hand is forced. He's going to come down pit road.
Here he comes. So again, it's just due to the basic math that I did, that's going to be roughly 11 laps after Delaney, and with that degradation, it's going to be interesting to see how far back he shakes out and how much of it he can gain back in the 37 some odd laps that remain in the stage.
Yeah, he's nearly going to go, he might actually go a lap down here. I'm not sure. With Jonathan Delaney being right behind him, or right in front of him actually, when he came down pit road, this is going to be close if he's able to stay on the lead lap. He will have the fresher tires, of course, but can't say that advantage is going to help him out too much when, as you said, there's only going to be about 37 laps left in the stage. So I can't say I understand the strategy call, but there's a reason I'm in the booth and they're on the track. Maybe they know something I don't.
Yeah, precisely that. I don't. Every time I question something, somehow my ideas always have essentially been broken. So we'll indeed see how it does shake out. But for the time being, Delaney is going to have a 4-second lead over Miller. And we'll kind of wait to see where Hicksonbaugh breaks out in the shuffle. Looks like he is 16 seconds off of Delaney's pace from what I can see.
Dropping incredibly due to that strategy, as the leader is a bit entwined in some lap traffic here. He's got Morris Hickenbottom in front of him. He's got, let's see, Sean O'Brien Jr. in another Mark Martin throwback. So 2 of those going on in the race. Jason Taylor in front of him. Just a whole gaggle of cars he's going to have to work through.
Yeah, he is. And again, one thing I'll watch here in the background for us is while Delaney is going through that traffic, what is the lap time difference between Hicksonbaugh and Delaney? Last time by, Hicksonbaugh a 29.5 to a 30 flat for Delaney, who now is in an absolute cluster expletive of lap traffic here. So he's definitely going to run some much slower laps, getting really checked up there with his Mark Martin compadre there, the 65 machine.
Yeah, he just about got tangled with him, and that's not a sight you ever want to see. When you got the lap traffic too wide in front of you anywhere, that's generally a bit unnerving. But when they're too wide at a track that has 1 lane, yeah, that's a brown pants moment.
Yeah, exactly that. I'll be interested to see how the gap did shift between Delaney and Miller. Last time by, Delaney at a 30.64 to now Benefiel, who's in second spot, who ran he must have had a bad lap too, because a 30.54. So even through all that interesting moments, Delaney didn't even run that much slower of a lap than his competitors.
No, he did not. He was able to kind of maintain that gap with the help of the lap traffic. He's now working his way around the number 12 machine, which I got to point out something on this number 12 machine, ladies and gentlemen. This is a Jeremy Mayfield throwback, and normally you've got the Pegasus on the back of these Mobile One machines, but why don't we take a bit of a closer look at the quarter panel of that number 12? It's not a Pegasus. It's a camel. with wings. I'm not sure what possessed him to do this, but he did.
It took me a little bit because it looked so similar from the long shot that I didn't notice. But again, these guys in this league, when it comes to paint schemes, they definitely think out of the box. And I can't remember who it was, but at Talladega a few weeks ago, when we had our PTR TV throwback, one of the drivers crossed out Exalta on a Willie B scheme and wrote their team name on there to kind of hodgepodge a throwback. So for all I know, it's probably the same team. I believe it was Black Flag, and I believe that is.
Actually, I'm going to correct myself. I don't think that's a camel. I think that's an alpaca.
But it is indeed not the species that it's supposed to be.
No, it is not an equine.
So the creativity is still there, which is ultimately where the points need to be given.
He's got the spirit. He's just a little confused.
Yes. But 12, he's running in 13th, so still a fair day for Taylor thus far, and still has almost half the race to try to see if he can at least best his number there and get into 12th or even in the top 10.
Sounds like Raymond Root having a bit of a problem in that. I want to say that's a Martin Truex throwback. Having a bit of an issue down on the apron. Now he's back on the racing surface, but a lot of right side damage to that car. Conceded a few positions, even some left side damage. I gotta wonder if he didn't get some help there.
Yeah, Root's just, he hasn't had, he's been kind of on a hot streak between nearly winning Dega, winning Bristol Dirt. I mean, not to say he's in 10th now. A 10th is not a bad day at all, but definitely not a winning or top 5 day for Root. But again, depending how cautions play and how attrition fares out, we know he can find some speed, as a replay is on your screen now. He was kind of trying to slalom around a lap car, and I think just tried to turn the car a little bit too much. And when it turned, it turned a little bit more than he intended to.
You mentioned earlier just how much runoff you have to work with to catch the car, and that is one of the few ways that this track is a little bit forgiving. I mean, it is a very difficult track, but in that sense, having all of that apron and all that pavement to work with, it's a bit of a saving grace for these guys, and I think that saved a few cars tonight.
Yeah, it most certainly has. So, I mean, Darlington almost has...
No!
Ooh, somebody to the inside
Blake
there.
Giglio, that might have been a hard hit. He went off camera, we're not sure, but we'll try to dial up a replay. He was sending it towards the inside line. No damage on the left side, I don't think. So, Blake.
He had, it looks like he had the 20 very close to him. I think Carlos is queuing it up in the background, but he had the 20 in Medeiros on his, not quite on his back bumper, but maybe close enough that some arrow screwed him up, but significant right side damage. And we do have our multi-cam up. Let you see the replay here. Top side of the screen, got loose, and ouch. No amount of 3M tape is going to fix that one. Or actually, maybe enough, who knows. Our producer says he's going to need more than 3M. He's going to need some 4M tape. 4M. Maybe 4N. That's even further into the tape realm there. So,
and he's giving us crap over our puns. Come on now. Okay. Producer bias.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna. There's always a joke about Olympic judges who give more harsh scores, but due to the country and current world events, I can't say that. But biased scores. But we'll try to get a 10. If you're in chat, whose puns are better, commentators or producers? Let us know. But up front, again, just kind of quick little summary. We are closing in on the end of the stage. 19 laps in the stage. 6 seconds to Delaney, and if we're following the Hickson-Baugh situation. I think he was 15 seconds back, Andre, I called, when he exited the pits. He has it down to 9, and he's running-ish 5 to 6 tenths faster than the guys around him. So I don't think that's going to get him back to where he was, but we'll see if he can. He's in the top 5 now, see if he can maybe. I think he might be able to get to second with enough luck.
He may be able to. He is a little bit faster on those fresher tires, and definitely has good pace. I think the tire wear plateau will be coming for him sooner rather than later, though. I mean, there does come a point where old tires and slightly newer tires just kind of equalize after a while, and that's one of the reasons that staying out for a really long time isn't necessarily a huge advantage. But we'll have to wait and see. He is closing in on the back of Robert Miller by about 2 seconds. So we shall see. Stage 2 ends at lap 185. We're on lap 168. So a little bit of racing left in this stage. But so far up front, Jonathan Delaney still walking away with it. Benefield P2. Alex Murray in the 28 machine. He's in third with Robert Miller just behind, just outside of the podium. Lucas Hoitzma is in sixth behind Bryson Nixon behind fifth. And look at that, Long in the 97. He's still inside the top 10, not too far back after having a few big moments earlier. So good, solid run so far from him. And Raymond Root just kind of holding on to the top 10 for now.
Yeah, man, I just had to bust out the calculator again, Andre. Again, I'm just blowing up my mental and physical calculator. This race is flying by. We actually kind of forgot to call out. We are over the halfway point in this race. So only 123 to go, which in race time is roughly an hour of racing to go. So this race is flying by, and that last stage is only going to be about 108 laps, which is probably right at that point of I'd say one pit stop, but we may have a 1-2 pit stop split for stage 3, so things to look forward to. And we'll see how the tire limits come into that if we start having some yellows.
Also, just a quick update on Tim Rail, who, if you remember, was involved in a very early incident, probably one of the first incidents of the night. A little while ago, he did elect to take that car behind the wall, so Tim Rail joins the list of Darlington casualties. This track has claimed a few drivers tonight so far who had to take it behind the wall. So on your screen, Robert Miller still trying to hold off his teammate Lucas Hoitzma. I'm sure probably a nice sight to have a teammate in your mirror, knowing that you don't have to overdrive the corner to keep him behind you, and you know that he's not going to be too aggressive.
Yeah, unless you're, JRM with Gregson, then anything's possible. But so far, I think, as you said, a little bit cordial with the teammates here. So see how it all shakes out. Coming down to lap number 172, so 18 more laps. Delaney up by nearly 7 seconds now. Hicksonbaugh has managed to get up to the 4th spot. So again, he's probably going to get second. He's only about a second and a half behind Benefield, who's in second. Does have to get through Murray, who's not too far behind Benefield. So Hicksonbaugh's strategy will get him will get him almost where he was. But another thing to look out for as well as Andre is our lap down count. Right now, we're down to Ralph Hutchison. We talked earlier about him. We thought he had maybe a long run car and he'd come in at the end of the race. Hasn't really fired off too well for any amount of time in that 54 tonight. He's probably going to stay on the lead lap, but again, only 8 cars on the lead lap heading into stage 3.
Just a quick update. Oh no, Sean O'Brien Jr. Hold on to her. Hold on. There you go, buddy.
Going for the voice title on the vocals there.
He just had me a little nervous. No, Sean! Sean, what are you doing, man?
Well, I think he's going to need some tide. There's going to be some tide necessary to clean off the britches there after that one. I can't believe I just said britches on air, but we're down south. I guess that makes it okay, right?
Yeah, it's a throwback race. It's a solid 1800s Victorian word.
There we go. But either way, again, more calamity ensuing, and just due to the nature of Darlington, we don't need no caution. I don't know what Barney's doing up on the flag stand, but he's letting all this stuff slide. These guys are getting damaged. They're getting into each other. They're getting sideways, but we're staying green here at the, I almost said tricky triangle, the lady in black, too tough to tame, all the nicknames that we've given this place over the years.
Yeah, as I was going to say before, the 65 got me having a nervous meltdown there with his squirreliness. I didn't see it, but apparently Blake Giglio has taken it behind the wall after his incident. I would assume the fact that he is messaging the team Discord tells me he's not in the car. At least I hope he's not in the car messaging the team Discord.
Now, I have to get back to puns and stupid jokes for a second, if I may. So they called this place the Lady in Black directly after they paved it. But the pavement is old now. Now the surface is more gray. So is this the Lady in Gray now that the pavement has aged?
I mean, it's more accurate.
It sounds stupid, but come on, it's true. As Carlos jokingly cuts down the stream on my terrible joke, throw the tomatoes at me. I'll need a new tomato throwing graphic for next week's race. So.
Boy, oh boy, I can't wait till Kevin rewatches this race and he sees that it became the pun stream.
I mean, that's kind of, we have long green flag races. We gotta have fun. This is, it's entertainment, and it's also let you know what happens. So, if not much is actually happening and no one's passing each other, and the strategy's not there yet, we gotta be entertaining. And I'm not a comedian. I haven't had a stand-up show yet, and based on reactions, I think I'll keep that.
So what you're saying is, the drivers have nobody to blame but themselves for the puns.
Yes, because they need to get, they need to be 3 wide. We need to appease the millennial generation and lack of attention span. We need 3 wide every single lap and everyone to be upside down. That is what we need every single lap, and they're not doing that for us.
And then I say we disable the roof flaps so that if they spin around, it's more dramatic. Get the old COT action.
And then we cause a halfway caution, and then half the field goes backwards, and we have a hodgepodge figure 8. Cue Tony Stewart.
And 1 driver and a bandolier.
Exactly. And then we call it IndyCar out, just to have someone going 230 when everyone else is going $1.70. So.
And a Phil Collins concert in the infield during the race. I think when we get all those things, we got a fascinating
and 1 Mario Kart red turtle. Everyone who gets 1 red turtle a race.
We'll allow it. Maybe some oil slick and some trapdoor hatches like Kyle Petty had, just with the lead balls in his case.
Kyle Petty. I want to bring something that Kyle Petty actually said about Darlington kind of getting relatively on track. Kyle Petty hated this track so much that he said they need to fill it to the brim with water and have this be a minnow pond and have fishing competitions here. That's how much he hated this place, and I'm pretty sure someone in this field must hate this track to that same degree to feel that way. Don't know who it is, but we could probably make some assertions based on guys out of the race already.
I would say Damaris Hickenbottom probably is not a big fan of this track. Damaris is probably the biggest Kyle Petty fan I know, and I feel like he probably shares the sentiment about this track.
And I mean, I personally love this track, so I mean that's just me. And where are we going next week? I honestly don't even know where we're going next week. I know we're heading into the All-Star break with Texas coming up pretty soon, aren't we? So everyone's going to hate that because I think everybody hates Texas. But where are we going? Where are we at next week? Cue my Michael Waltrip not knowing what the track is.
In the meantime, hold on a minute. Bryson Ixenbaugh's up to 2nd, and he's 3 seconds back from the leader. I don't know when this happened.
See, when we start kerfuffle, we start waffling and fluffing off, and I said fluffing. I said fluffing. Marshmallow fluff. That's what I was talking about.
Watch your profanity.
If marshmallow fluff is now an expletive, then that's a snowflake generation going off. Hey, I can't bring politics into this, but can he get 2.5 seconds in 6 laps? I'm going to say no, but I hope yes.
I don't think it's 6 laps. I think he's got a lap and a half.
See, this is what's happened. Now my brain is fluff. So all right, we'll get back to it. But
he's not going to get there. But to get up to 2nd place, that has been a great comeback, and actually that's going to give him some really good track position for the beginning of stage 3 as well. And I think that's what was important here. You don't want to be trapped having a poor restart area. You don't want to be midfield and have a lot of cars to work through. And Bryson might not have got up to the lead, but he did get up to 2nd place. So as long as he has a good pit stop under this stage caution, and as long as nothing crazy happens, he should be starting on the front row. And yeah, pit lane is closed, and Jonathan Delaney is working his way out of turn 4. When he crosses this stripe, that'll be the stage, although we do have to wait for the 10 cars behind him to get there. Now, I always say that, but that is kind of a give or take rule. The admins don't know exactly when 10th place crossed. It's kind of a guesstimation situation. So that's another rhyme that I did not intend to do. Here we are, 2 for the night. Caution flies. Jonathan Delaney wins stage 2, and everybody that got a stage point, here we go. Jonathan Delaney wins the stage. Bryson Ixenbaugh, P2. Adam Benefiel, Alex Murray, Lucas Hoitzma, Robert Miller, Matthew Long, Ralph Hutchison, Devin Medeiros is going to be P9, and the last driver to snag a stage point is going to be Raymond Root in the number 8. You mentioned Raymond trying to hold on to that top 10 and just barely snag that point, and he did. He got there in the end. So we're going to rack him and stack him, get him down pit road, and then I don't know. Who do you think we should have a word with? We already had a word with Jonathan Delaney. I don't feel like he doesn't have a whole lot more to say. Who had an interesting run this stage, Corey?
Well, I think the best person to talk to would be Hicksonbaugh to try to figure out maybe that strategy call and what he thought would have exactly how it persevered for him
I
or
agree.
conspired. Using proper English here. Not you're doing too well with that, but yeah, we'll try to cue him up here after these guys come down pit lane.
Yep, we'll let him come down pit road, get that car serviced, and then once he is out and safe, we'll go ahead and dial him up. But in the meantime, I mean, that pit road entry, it's so deceiving, especially from that camera angle. Every time I think somebody's going to tap that inside wall, they're cutting it so close. But interesting thing for John, even though he's been running up front all night long, he does have one of the last pit stalls on pit road. So he's coming in earlier than anybody else and then has a long drive out. An advantage that Bryson, as well as a few other drivers, have up there is that their pit stall is close enough to the end that they don't really need to worry about making a right-hand turn back to pit lane. They can just gun it right out of their pit stall and call it good. And you would think that would help some of these drivers maybe jump John Delaney on pit road, but so far, John has had impeccable stops. That number 6 team has been on the ball. And it seems like this time around, nothing is going to change. He's going to get easily out in front of everybody else. And behind him, we got Bryson by about 7 car lengths. Now, let's go ahead and pull him down. Speaking of Bryson, see if I can find him in his chat. Bryson Nixonbaugh, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, Bryson, we already had a word with John, so we figured we'd bring you up to the booth and just dial you up. Looked like you got a pretty good car out there, and you made a pretty interesting strategy call in this last stage. You stayed out longer than anybody else, and you used those fresh tires to drive back up to second. Was that kind of a pre-planned strategy, or just kind of something you did on the fly?
Just something I did on the fly. Once Robert pit early before we were halfway in the stage, I knew John needed to pit early as well. I wanted to go about 5 laps more originally, but then once I knew they had to pit early, I would just decide to stay out as long as I could and try and hope for a caution to maybe cycle myself out in front of John on better tires. John's real fast today, so there's not a whole lot I can do on track. I got to do it in pits.
It seems like your car is getting a little bit quicker just from what we see up in the booth. It seems like for a while at least you can keep pace with John. Do you think the lowering track temps is helping you out at all?
It's probably helping him out more than me. He was sliding around a lot once he got in front of me in stage 2. That was hurting me a little bit there at the end of stage 1, but he was doing it much worse. He definitely was not pushing as hard as he could during stage 2. He should have been 5 seconds gone way before we thought about pitting.
All right. Well, looks like you're going to go green soon, so we'll put you back up with the team. Good luck with the rest of the race there, Bryson.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. So when a driver is so fast that he burns the strategy call that was supposed to work, but Delaney's just so fast that he's too fast for the strategy to work. You don't hear that one too often.
Yeah, can't say you do. Lights go off on the pace car. A couple of drivers taking a wave around. Sean O'Brien Jr. looks to be among them, as well as Brandon Pierce, who I believe, and I might regret saying this because I may have the facts wrong here because I couldn't find where he posted in the Discord, but I believe Brandon Pierce in that 38 is running a throwback to his dad's late model that he used to race. It was the late model that his dad managed to get a win in, and so Brandon Pierce honoring him with that paint scheme, I believe is the story he told in Discord. So pretty cool. It kind of shows you the throwback week is, more than just about the history of the sport, but also just kind of the history of your family and what inspires you to race.
Well, we've seen that with Logano this week. If you caught NASCAR qualifying live, Logano's scheme kind of encompasses all of the schemes of his career, from quarter midgets to all of his different cars he's run. So kind of taking more of a personal touch, not so much of just mimicking classic schemes. But either way, we're getting ready for that restart. Delaney has chosen the outside. We'll see where in the restart zone he does decide to fire off a lot later than he has prior. Kind of stacks everybody up, but we're wrecking.
Oh my goodness.
That's we saw the 54 Hutchison to the inside wall hard. Matt Long involved. Root sideways.
Robert Miller lost a rear bumper in that. It didn't even take that hard of a hit. Not sure how that happened, but it's a scramble on the front stretch.
Remember, I just said that that was the latest Delaney's gone in quite some time, and I almost wonder if that instigated some of it. We have a replay on screen for you from the long shot there. It looks like the 97 got kind of turned abruptly to the right. Don't quite see the cause of that. We'll see if maybe we can get a second shot of it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Jonathan Delaney bottlenecking the field like that sort of got them jumbled up.
I'll tell you, I just saw from the chopper came on my side. The 97 just broke right on his own power. Did not have any instigation there.
Oh yeah, just a wheel spin. There it is. Okay. And actually, the first car he tagged was his teammate Hutchison in that 54. Root getting the absolute worst of that. Here comes the 89, just able to get on the brakes. Take another look at it. Keep your eye on that 97. He's going to get on the power, and that thing is just going to take a bit of a ride to the right-hand side, and he's ping-ponging off of cars. Looks like Kevin Steele might have been involved as well. Man, oh man. Mike Christopher on board with the number 70. He was right behind him when this happened. And wow, he almost got tagged in the quarter panel, but nope, that was Alex Murray. Our producer was mistaken there. I blame him. It's all Carlos's fault.
Get some more onboard shots here on the screen. You can kind of just see how the entire track was blocked. But again, the benefit of Darlington is you literally have about 10 lanes of room to go. This is on board with Miller in the 15 machine.
I mean, nowhere to go.
Yep, not at all. And
Still
he's dead backwards, facing the field. The worst position you could ever be in as a driver is seeing the entire field pass by from the opposite direction.
Yeah, still not sure how he lost a rear bumper and all that. That might just be an oddity in the visual damage. But we do have a driver in the infield care center. Corey, why don't you have a word with Cody Bird?
All right, indeed. All right, Cody, it's Corey in the booth. You got me?
Got a copy.
All right, so, I mean, we never really tend to talk to you on good terms, so we apologize for that. We blame Andre for your first wreck, but all in all, we see you in pit road here. Looks like you've been there for quite some time overall. What took you out of the race ultimately today?
I think ultimately it ended up just being the first accident that caused my engine to expire about 120 laps later, which is really surprising. So we're going to try to get this fixed, and only 11 laps down to Blake, so going to try to get one more position before the night's up.
Yeah, saw that happen. And ultimately, so if everything went kind of clean and green and we didn't have any incidents that took you out, what kind of car do you think you had in tonight's race? Where do you kind of feel like you would have shaked out if it just happened naturally?
I think I probably would have been around the top 20, which I think me and this track are not best friends. So top 20 would have been perfect for me and would have been a great result.
Yeah, well, as you said, you kind of have an opportunity to get some attrition. We'll see how that does shake out for you. So hopefully next time we could talk to you on better terms, but good luck and see if you can get back out there.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
That was Cody Bird. Again, every time I've talked to him, Andre, I don't think I've ever talked to him on good terms. Hopefully the next time we cover one of these and I'm in the booth, we can be talking to him on, slightly better occasion. As we'll see if the pace car does turn the lights out for us.
And the lights on the pace car do go off. But we got another driver in the infield care center. It's my driver. The driver I'll be paying the bill for the wrecked car for, so let's bring him up. Robert Miller, you got a copy?
I got you.
Well, Robert, that was unexpected, to say the least. Looks like the 97 just spun his tires on the restart, and you were boxed in. What was it like from your perspective?
I mean, I had nowhere to go. By the time the track cleared, I got rear-ended. That's all it was.
Yeah, definitely a lot of rear-end damage to the car. Is that going to be terminal damage, or you might be able to get back out there?
No, I'm down for tonight. This car has taken some crazy, weird hits and damage, and it's dead. That last run, I scraped the wall on injury and misery, and I had no more drive. I had nothing. I was just loose everywhere I went. I was just slow, and it was not fun to drive. So I was getting ready to pack it up anyway because the car felt like it was broken. So this kind of just sealed it right there.
Yeah, we talked a little bit on the broadcast about the inconsistent damage model and how sometimes a small hit has a big effect. And this is a track where you're going to be taking a lot of small hits to that outside wall. And it's unfortunate that it kind of claimed you there with that aspect. But What are the plans going forward? Where are you going to be racing next week, or what's going on?
I'm gonna try to. I'll try to race as much as I can while I still can. I don't know exactly when, but I know it's gonna be soon. I probably will be away for a while. But there's plans in work to make sure LNM's still good to go for the rest of the year. But we'll see.
Speaking of, he's still got a teammate out on track, and he's actually going to be restarting here in third. Lucas Hoitzman, that 0-7, has a lot of speed. You're going to be going back to the team chat, maybe taking on a crew chief role for him?
No, sadly, I've been up literally for about 28 to 29 hours now.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I just got back from a red-eye flight just in time for qualifying, like 6 o'clock Eastern time. So the fact that I made it this long without falling asleep is an achievement in itself. So I'm probably just gonna go to sleep.
Yeah, that is big respect. I can't imagine trying to drive a car on that little sleep. But thanks for your time, Robert. Sorry your race kind of ended unfortunately, but hopefully we'll see you next week, man.
I appreciate it, y'all. Have a good day.
Yeah, we're firing off here for the restart, and I don't know if Delaney yielded any advice or if he just learned from experience, but did fire off a lot earlier that time, and that did allow everyone to kind of run off a little bit smoother.
Yeah, that was a much better restart, although kind of a low bar. As the 83 kind of cycles up to third. Bryce Nixonbaugh there in second. Of course, familiar sight number 6 out front. First side-by-side battle, well, you're going to have to go back to Kevin Steele, who just got around to Mara Hickenbottom. They were not on the same lap, and shout out to Kevin for being in P12. He's had a bit of a rough night, kind of been in traffic a lot, kind of getting held up, but still, P12, not bad, 1 lap down. He's got a bit of a battle in front of him. Owen Hodgson in that Marty Robbins throwback works his way around Tracy in that 33, who's actually starting to bleed positions on that high line.
Yes, he is. So, but again, I do want to, as you said, give note to Kevin Steele. In the races I've seen, he hasn't really had the best of luck, but we're on the toughest track on the schedule, as I've said many times, and here he is knocking on the door of the top 10, and he has been in the top 10 all day, has the 24 machine. Maybe it's the Oreos, and just as I say that, he pancakes the fence off it too.
Commentator's curse.
Pancakes, or he... No, I'm not even. So go on with your thought.
I didn't really have a thought. I never have a thought, honestly.
I was going to relate, pancaking the wall and turning it into a cookie joke, but, I've already started it, but no, I'm not going to finish it. So I've already been tomatoed enough for the night, as I already did a ketchup joke earlier, and I got tomatoed. It all comes together. I'm getting fired. I'm getting fired after this. I'm going to have to run back to my channel, aren't I?
Well, let's hope not. The number 63 not falling back too far from Jonathan Delaney. The gap right now is about 0.4 seconds, which, where have we seen that before, Corey?
I wonder. 4 is the number of the day, apparently, but we'll see what does happen, because Delaney, under perfectly normal circumstances, that 4/10 did eventually burst and turn into like 2.5. So, but I definitely think on the short haul he hasn't, but we are under yellow.
Yeah, I'm trying to cycle through and identify who might have caused that.
Long is slower than average. Trying to look. Oh, a couple guys smoking down the back. Yes, Tracy and Santa, as our producer, let us know. Replay queuing up for you.
Brandon Pierce involved in that as well.
And getting turned there, and right in the center of the corner was Tracy, and then Long, in pure Darlington logic, Long just along for the ride, couldn't know where to go with it.
Was that another pun?
Actually, that one wasn't. That was just a natural thought that worked.
Happy accident. Yeah, he got a little help there. I mean, he was kind of sideways, but yeah, that was a little bit of a nudge. Unfortunately, set him out. But look at this: Jonathan Delaney staying out, and everybody else coming down pit road. And Jonathan Delaney actually preventing the 57 from getting the wave around.
And I feel like you may have a little extra anger behind that, more than even Stone does right now. And I guess Delaney's not going to be invited to any cookouts after this.
Oh my. Okay. All right. You know what? We're done here. It's been great. We're done. I'm leaving.
All right, switch over to PTR TV for the next 110 laps of the race. 93 laps, however many's left.
So we have.
Hey, it's
91
hard.
laps
It's hard to do math when you're getting roasted from every angle. Okay. Delaney doing the fake pit there. He's saying, I'll let you get the lap back." Nah, until I get that invitation. But all of our lap down cars coming into the pits now. But we'll see how it does shake out after all these yellows we have. I'm just kind of looking at our overall standings and kind of just getting a metric of where we stand with everything. 8 guys on the lead lap. We have about 7 drivers who are locked 1 lap down. A few that are 2, a few that are 3, a few that are 4, and probably the better part of about 12 drivers out of the race right now.
I should point out that when Cam saw that Jonathan Delaney was staying out and would prevent him from the free pass, he came across the radio and said some expletives, which I am not at liberty to repeat on air. But not too happy with that number 6 machine, as he's going to drop to the bottom and concede some track position here.
Well, I mean, you can say the word fluff, but apparently that might be a little bit too close. And there's no marshmallow fluff car in this race. Maybe the next theme race can be sandwiches, and we'll have peanut butter jelly cars, turkey BLT, club sandwich cars. Maybe that'll be a theme, or yeah, a little bit too out there, I guess.
Light's still on the pace car. I expect them to go off this time, and I don't foresee there being any delayed yellow, but we'll have to wait and see. Taking lap 204 here under caution out of 293. You pointed out earlier, Corey, how fast this race is going by. You're absolutely right. This has been one of the quicker Darlington races in recent memory, for me at least. Definitely been pretty clean so far, although things have gotten a little bit more hectic as the race is going on. I'm not sure if that's because the track is cooling off. These guys have more grip and they're getting a little bit more bold, making some moves that they wouldn't otherwise make. Although the restart incident was a lack of grip that caused that. So I mean, proving myself wrong already. But yeah, it seems like things are heating up at the end of this race.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was. Time is running out, so moves have to get made quicker. They have to get made more aggressively, and ultimately that's what leads into some more cautions towards the end of it. We went green essentially the whole first stage, and just as it's going on, just slowly increasing that caution frequency, which makes things more exciting, and also again brings that tire count into play. We'll have to start watching that over the next 80 some odd laps. We're getting ready for yet another restart. Pace cars in, Delaney on that top side of the track, Benefield to the inside, and someone's peeling off there to the inside. Are we getting delayed on this?
And we are delayed as Navy Allison dives down to the bottom. Alex Murray in that 28 machine. He's going to take it down to the apron and just kind of give these guys some room. We are going around again. Not entirely sure why. I think everybody was caught up. I could be wrong. But alas, we're going around one more time, and we're going to hopefully get back to racing. Cameron Stone looks like he'll be restarting in the 4th row lap down.
I was going to say there was no way going down to the bottom that was going to be legal in a league. I've seen it on the official side of iRacing, where obviously we don't have strict rules in live admin, where people will literally drive all the way to the pit wall off of the corners. But guys drive a little bit more realistically here in the series, as the pace car will come out just to span the backstretch and then immediately pull back to pit lane.
Patrick Boucher just in front of Cameron Stone. Let's see, where is he on the timing and scoring? He's actually for position for Cameron Stone. Boucher currently in the lucky dog position. Worry another caution to come out. He's in P9, 1 lap down. Cameron Stone P10. There goes the pace car, and field is again in the hands of Jonathan Delaney, with Adam Benefield on the front row for the first time for a restart, I believe, unless he was on the front row last time. But again, bad memory. There goes Jonathan Delaney, getting a great start, and Alex Murray putting the bumper to Adam Benefield, trying to shove him forward. He's got Lucas Hoytsman behind him. They're going to get clear of that 0-7, able to single file out and get themselves sorted, which is nice to see after the more chaotic events we've had recently. A little bit of calm, so to speak, before the storm. Jonathan Delaney with a 3-car length lead currently.
Yeah, it looked like he was kind of a mix of going later than he has been, but going earlier than he went. The restart that we did have, the big incident on the front stretch, caught a couple guys off guard, but luckily they were able to get going without too much wheel spin there. So to get this race back underway, so everybody, as you said, kind of strung out and running nice and clean, holding about a 6/10 lead over Benefiel, who we haven't, to my knowledge, Andre, seen him in kind of clean air this high up in the field. So we kind of know what Hicksabah can do out of second, but don't really know what 83 can do when he's immediately trying to chase down the leader.
I should also point out Cameron Stone was able to get around Patrick Miche for the lucky dog position on that restart. So he is the first car a lap down until the leader gets to more lap traffic, which honestly, it's not going to take long. What we've seen historically in this race so far tonight is that it really only takes a few laps before the leader gets into traffic and things get jumbled up. So Cameron Stone's going to need to maybe get on the accelerator if he wants to keep himself in the lucky dog position. But I got to ask Corey, what are your predictions going forward? I mean, we've had a lot of green flag racing, really more than any other Darlington race, I think, for this league so far. But the last stint has been a little bit more caution infested. Do you think that trend's going to continue, or do you think we're back to green flag racing?
It's very hard to say, but I'm gonna go on the side of more green, just kind of just completely taking the attrition side of it, where we only have 8 guys on the lead lap. We have so many guys of varying pace and off the pace, multiple laps down. So unless one of those off the pace guys just really gets in the way and kind of causes a big checkup and a stack up, I don't see many of natural cause cautions, but having a lap car get in the way of a leader is very possible. So kind of flip a coin on that regard.
I would have to agree. I think we're going to see some green flag action here for sure. And they are, Cameron Stone into the outside wall a little bit. They're getting strung out a ways. And as I think we are going to stay green for a little while, Darlington being one of the most historic tracks on the circuit and definitely one of the roughest. How about we go on board, taking the sights and sounds of Darlington and crank it up? Sights and sounds of Darlington. Gotta love it. In the meantime, we got an interview lined up with the driver of the number 44, Randy Drumhiller. Let's see if we can bring him up. He's with Corey.
All right, Randy, Corey from the PTR. Oh, Corey from 3Y TV got us.
Yeah, Corey, I'm your host.
Yeah, sorry, cross branding there, but yeah. So obviously not the best run for you today. We've had a long green flag run for the most part, but some cautions have ultimately slowed down this race. But we see you 25 laps down right now. What ultimately was the dagger for you tonight?
Well, that restart, there was nowhere to go, and I had a little bit of damage on the right front, blew the oil cooler, and which cost me the engine, so nothing I could do about that.
Yeah, that did catch a lot of good guys out of it. But prior to that, overall, how was the car? And we know Darlington's kind of a love or hate track. How are you having fun there? What was your attitude like before that took you out of it?
Oh, it's a love track for me. I've always liked this track. I was just biding my time, moved up, I think, about 15 or 16 spots. The car was running great. Guys did a great job on the setup this week, but I was just waiting until that last run for the end.
Unfortunately, it didn't get it, but there's always a next week. While we got you, any shout outs you want to give, especially for that set or team, anything like that?
Oh yeah, just the rest of the guys of the team, Jason and Sean and Randy. We worked hard all week, and they're all having good runs now. So thanks, guys, at Black Flag.
Well, sorry you're out of it, Randy, but maybe we'll be talking to you next week. We'll wish you luck.
10-4, thanks.
Drumhiller out of the booth and sounded a little bit dejected. I understand. You go to a track that you love, and he said he loved this track, and then it ends early. That's always gut-wrenching. But we got a yellow flag on the circuit.
Hodgson sideways, and Mason Lowry also spun as well on the long shot there, I saw.
Hodgson, that Marty Robbins car, involved.
Oh, there was a bunch of guys involved in that one. See the 70 machine as well in there, so that was Michael Christopher.
The notches on his car, number 1 and 19 more after that one.
I'm gonna let that one go. Looked like Lowry there. It looked like from a distance that Lowry kind of, as we like to say, arc-a-braked in there, but it's really just, as we've talked about many a time, it's a nature of Darlington. You can't, it's almost like the Bristol dirt track. You can't do anything. You see the wreck. Hey, I should probably avoid this, but I can't. And just kind of what you deal with here at the lady in gray.
I should point out the drivers involved in that incident have all been given a radio warning. If they continue to bicker, they will lose their radio privileges. These guys were not too happy with each other.
Bristol-like tempers at Darlington. Again, from a race that went clean and green without a whisker of damage but no actual issues for about 150 laps. That's kind of turned upside down in the last 70.
Yeah, things have definitely changed. This race was so smooth leading into this, but as the race goes on, it just gets a little bit more crazy. And again, I think a lot of that is just how tiring and this race is for these drivers. It's definitely one of the most tiring races of the year. You got to think, you go to a road course where you're constantly thinking, right? You're always thinking about your braking zones. You're always paying attention, not a second to breathe, because if you do, you might make a mistake. You might miss your corner. But those races are short. We go to road courses, less than 100 laps. We come here, we got 293 laps at a track that pretty much demands your constant attention. It's like a needy wife, man. This track, the lady in black, demands your attention at all times.
My wife is within earshot of me, so not commenting on that.
So Hodgson in pit road. He's going to go ahead and get that car fixed up and see what he can do. But pit road pretty busy, actually. Cameron Stone, Ralph Hutchison, Kevin Steele, Matthew Long, Tracy still in pit road. Looks like Chad Edwards working his way out of pit road in that terrifying Carrot Top machine.
Again, so all these are our lap down drivers, which is the better part of our field, but kind of almost in short track manner, Andre. We talk about races that have, leaders that lap, everybody and essentially the whole field, but when we start having these processions of cautions at the end, we went from like 7 or 8 on the lead lap. We're slowly working our way up to looks like 12 now, and where we still have about 70 laps to go, we could still end up having 15, 17, 20 guys on the lead lap by the end of this thing, the way it's shaken out.
And it does look like we have some drivers lining up to take the wave around. Tanner Marty, Sean O'Brien Jr. taking another wave around. Kyle Ammon, Ryan Samuelson, Taylor Stout. Ryan Samuelson in a Michael Waltrip Racing throwback. Look at that. Number 81 machine in the Aaron's Dream Machine. Gotta love it. As he takes his wave around.
I take, what's that, like mid 2000s, I think that was. I remember the biggest memory I have of the Aaron's Dream Machine was at Nashville in the Busch Series when I think Waltrip was like 5th and the top 4 all spun right in front of him. That's my biggest memory out of that car.
I think that specific car was Michael McDowell's in the COT. It might have been the car that he actually flipped at Texas.
Oh yeah, the famous right hand hook in the COT that that was essentially the moment where NASCAR realized, hey, maybe everybody hates the look of this car and maybe it drives like not goodness, but it's a damn safe car. Forgive me for my French. And that moment on, at least we've always kept that level of safety going forth.
Absolutely. The fact that he was able to take that hit, flip down the banking, and climb out, just miraculous, honestly. It was, I think, a wake-up call for everybody that the sport had become just so far from what it used to be. I mean, back in the day, it was... I mean, it's still scary. You never want to see a driver take a hit like that, but you can kind of breathe a little bit easier and enjoy the racing a little bit more, knowing that your favorite drivers aren't necessarily at the inherent risk that they used to be in. So, gotta love the safety. But that paint scheme, again, very iconic for kind of the wrong reasons for a wreck, but still a good paint scheme. As the lights are off on the pace car, and Bryson Nixonbaugh is going to be starting right alongside Jonathan Delaney. And yeah, I gotta wonder, is John a little bit nervous right now? Because yes, he's got the fastest car in the field, but I know that Bryson and John have a long, long history, most of which involves trading paint, twisting sheet metal, and yelling at each other on the radio. So this could get interesting.
It could. And I do want to point out regarding twisted sheet metal real quick. Devin Medeiros is in 7th on the lead lap. And can we just get a shot of his machine?
Oh man, yeah, that's
a lead lap car. So anything is possible, regardless of damage here at Darlington as we get ready for the restart. And Delaney is going to go very early, kind of hit the loud pedal there off of 4, and that gives him a good gap over Hixenbaugh. Again, spreads out the field.
Yeah, Hixenbaugh falling back a little bit there. Jonathan with a real aggressive line through 1 and 2, affording himself a decent amount of buffer. And would you look at that, at the line last time, it was about 4/10 again. So interesting as Adam Benefiel is in 3rd. I'm not sure who's going to be quicker between him and Bryson. We'll have to have that settled on the track. Alex Murray behind him as well. Lucas Hoitzma kind of single filed out. And then you got a bit of a gap behind Hoitzma all the way back to Jason Taylor in 6th. Who, by the way, Jason Taylor, his last win came at Pocono, I believe, last year. So it's been a while since that number 12 machine has been in victory lane, but he does have a win in the league, and this could run. And maybe with some good luck going forward, he might be looking at another one.
Yeah, maybe he'll be keeping that insert animal here on his future paint schemes if it brings him this kind of luck.
I'm still going with it's an alpaca, but I could be wrong, is he's going to actually let off the throttle and let Kevin Steele go. Kevin is a lap down, but I believe he's got fresher tires, so he's going to have a much faster car than most of these guys in the lead pack, so this will be fun to watch him try to get up there and maybe unlap himself the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, and something that we're definitely noticing is with all those wave rounds, kind of the positions on the tail end of the lead lap are all scattered because of how many lap cars there is between the tail end of the real lead lap cars, the lap cars, and then the wave round. It's kind of a little hodgepodge mess. Kind of how it happens in these situations. Like Cameron Stone right now, he's in 12th. He does have Patrick Mouchet in front of him, and then a couple lap down cars to get to the next position. So just kind of scattered about with all the wave rounds right now.
Yeah, a lot of distance between these cars and a lot of jumbling up in the field. And you'll have that again at a track like Darlington. You got some fast cars, got some slower cars, got some cautions that have kind of shaken things up. But overall, I think the battle for the lead is still pretty good. I mean, look at Bryson up there, not really falling back off the number 6. I think what he's got to do is he's just got to find that extra 10th, which is easy to say, difficult to do, but isn't that frustrating when you're just so close? You know you're so close in pace to the lead, but just a little off. I mean, what do you do in that situation?
I think the pill is a little bit easier to swallow, if anything, at a track like Darlington, where it is a driver's track, where you know Delaney is nearly the class of the field every week, whether you like it or not. So you can just kind of say, hey, he has a one-up on me. It's more frustrating at a track, I'd say, like a mile and a half, where for the most part, everyone's skill set on a mile and a half is almost the same. So when you have a driver who is just that little bit faster, it's like, where is it? I don't get it. But here, I'd say it's a little bit easier to swallow, just because it could just be a flat, just, he is just a little bit better than me on the skill set radar.
Yeah, and I mean, oftentimes when it's just a 10th or 2 here and there, it could come down to setup as well. You got to remember, Jonathan Delaney is on Lockdown Racing, which is an esports team spearheaded by Anthony Alfredo. And these guys don't mess around. They're in the coke side of things, and they really get involved. So he's got a good set. He's a good driver on top of having a good set. So you're right. I think in that situation, when you're being beat by one of the best drivers in some of the best equipment, it does make it a little bit easier to swallow. But again, that's kind of counteracted when it's your rival. I mean, Bryson and John, they don't get along. So to see John drive away with it at his favorite track, that's got to be a little frustrating. But it's definitely making for a fun show. We've been following along with a bit of a mid-pack battle here. RJ Root in the number 8, and Kyle Ammon behind him with a bit of a gaggle there. Patrick Muchet, Sean O'Brien Jr. involved in that incident earlier, making a little bit of a comeback, or trying to. These guys single filing out for now, but I don't know. A lot of difference in pace in these guys. They might be battling it out again here.
Ammon, as you just mentioned a couple seconds ago, he is a lap down. He did have a couple incidents today, which I think he had one. He was involved in the big one, if memory does serve. He is one of the lap down cars. Currently, Muchet is the last on the lead lap now in 12th, and Root just hanging on at the tail end of the top 10, just out of it rather, in 11th, as he'll lose a spot to the lapper right there. Tell you, Root got really loose on the entry there of 1, and that cost him a little bit of speed, but luckily the guy behind him of O'Brien he's not racing him directly, so he can give up that spot. But that Muchet right behind him, that is for position. So Root may lose that spot to the 46 for the 12th spot. Looks like he will lose it down the straightaway here, and 46 kind of washed up a little bit more than he probably wanted to. A little bit of a tight squeeze there through the center of 1 and 2, but give the spot indeed to Muchet for 11th. Root back down to 12th. Not missing anything up front. Gap now 3/4 of a second. So Delaney pulling away very slowly, but indeed starting to stretch the gap up there.
Yeah, just pulling away a little bit. And Adam Benefield also not able to reel in Bryson Hixenbaugh, at least yet. We do know that Adam has a bit of a long run setup. He seems to be pretty quick when this thing stays green. So we'll kind of watch for him to pick up the pace a bit. A good battle on track right now, though. Lucas Hoytsma and Alex Murray. These guys have found each other, finally. Hoytsma picking up the pace a little bit. Alex Murray dropping back just a tick, and that brought them bumper to bumper. Question is, when do you make the move? I think he's going to have to wait for a bobble like you do so often. Actually, no, he's not waiting for a bobble. He's going to go down to the bottom into 3 and 4. Side by side. Can he stick it? It's very hard to stick to the bottom in 3 and 4, but like a pro, he's going to keep it on that dashed white line, and he does get clear as Murray gets loose. Textbook move out of that 07.
07 must have put some fresh batteries in his Walkman from Circuit City there, because he got a pretty good run there off of 2 and managed to take that spot.
Oh boy.
Walkman, Circuit City, what did Circuit City go down in like 03, 04? I think Discmen were still the deal back then, and I remember I actually bought my first ever desktop computer from a Circuit City. It was an Intel Pentium 2 200 megabit processor with, I think, 16 megabits of RAM. So as we continue our throwback conversations.
Actually, you might be excited to know they're coming back.
Pentium, yeah, they're pretty big on laptop. Yeah. Oh, Circuit City.
Yeah. Yeah, they were actually online. They were an online retailer for a while, and you could actually get things from them online. They had no actual physical stores. But I've heard through the grapevine that they are actually constructing some brick and mortar stores, and they're going to be back in the retail.
Yeah, I think Toys R Us as well. They're just coming back and instead of doing a huge big box, they're just doing a kind of a more traditional, maybe a GameStop style store. Speaking of stores that are probably going under, if the stock didn't go up to $5 million, it probably would have. But that's a topic for a financial podcast that we are not here. So, but either way, Hoytsma in that fourth spot. Murray dropped to fifth. You could see kind of the parachute already goes out. Murray fell back almost a second, and he only got passed about 3 laps ago.
Absolutely. He's kind of dropping off pace, which is surprising because that 28 has generally been pretty good on these longer green flag runs. It seems like maybe he went the wrong way on an adjustment. I could see some of these guys making some tire pressure changes as the track temp has cooled down dramatically. 91 degrees now. And remember, it was 103 when we started, so over 10 degrees cooler now. Definitely want to make some tire pressure changes, but you got to be careful. You don't want to take too big of a swing because you might find yourself with a car that handles worse than it did before. And I'm no psychic, I can't read minds, but I feel like that may have occurred with the 28 team because he is wicked loose coming out of the turn. I mean, he is fighting that thing all the way through and just doesn't have the momentum that he had before. As in front of him, looks like Lucas Hoytsma has caught the lap car of RJ Root, who, in and of himself, has actually slowed down Adam Benefiel, which has allowed Hoytsma to close in on P3, another podium position if he can get up there. Hoytsma, he's a driver who's been looking for a win. He's been so close so many times, but just never quite able to complete it, never quite able to bring it home. And he's told me before, he knows that one's just around the corner. Just got to have the cards fall in his favor. And he's had a good run tonight, but man, oh man, not to sound like Benny Parsons, but you can't compete with his number 6 so far tonight. I mean, John has been the car to beat.
Yeah, I've covered, I think this is probably the 6th race of these guys I've covered. I mean, obviously you have a lot more backstory than I do, but just based on this season, I can't come up with a race that Delaney either wasn't the dominant driver or just on the cusp of it. So just another Delaney doing Delaney things. Just he's not going out to 3 or 4 seconds now. Hitsubai is keeping him in check, but just doing what he has been doing all race and keeping that gap out there. So we'll see what does happen. We're closing in on the end of it already. We're on 2:45. So math's about 48 laps to go. So that's only about 20-25 minutes if this thing stays green.
Yeah, if you're going to make a move, you might want to start thinking about making it because we are getting towards the end. I believe most of these guys should be good on fuel and good on tires. Of course, if a caution comes out, they may pit anyways. Not sure how many sets these guys have left in the old pit stall, but either way, I think it's going to be a pretty straightforward finish as long as a yellow flag doesn't come out. And we're going to knock on wood for that because we don't want to give that the commentator's curse. But Hickson ball 1 second back, Benefiel 1.8, Lucas Hoytsma 2.9, Alex Murray in 5th. He's 5 seconds back, and not long ago he was only a few seconds back. There is just something wrong with that 28. He's lost the setup.
Yeah, just remember we talked earlier about how Darlington changes. So the dynamic track system, the rubber going down, and the fact the track temp has changed. It was 3 o'clock at the race start. Now we're down to 6:10 in sim virtual standard time. So a lot has changed over the course of about 350 miles, and some guys have kept up with it. Delaney went 37th to first. He kept up with it and managed it, same as Hickson-Bob. But some guys just maybe as you said, just a little bit off with the air pressure, maybe a little bit off with the wedge, or just maybe some damage has slightly skewed the handling of the machine.
Yeah, unfortunate for sure. Leader getting into some lap traffic. Looks like he has Cody. Is that Cody Bird? Yes, sir. That's Cody Bird.
Yeah, back on track.
Didn't expect him to get back out there. Good for him.
78 laps down, but he is out there and trying to finish this thing out.
Got to grab every point you can. Mason Lowry now going to be the next target for our leader to put another lap down. Lowry's going to dive down to the bottom and not challenge him for it. Probably a good move there. Now he's got a bit of breathing room to the next car, which is going to be Alex Princeton in that 9.
So second place Hicksonbaugh. He will have Lowry in between, so there's now a sandwich in between your leaders. Looks like Lowry will pull down to the inside, which should be a little bit more common of a theme. Again, in the last 40, 50 laps of this race, drivers know that, that even if a free pass comes out, it's not going to give you enough, positions. There's not enough to gain, and you obviously don't want to be the factor that ruins somebody's race on a very narrow and difficult track. So good sportsmanship by those lap down machines. And just trying to look at our timing screen, Andre, to see if there is any, active battles kind of in the works or shaking up. And looks like everybody's pretty well distanced. I think with the attrition, patience, damage, everyone's kind of in their own little bubble now and just kind of cruising this thing out.
Everyone's pretty well distanced except for this next gaggle of cars ahead of John Delaney. These guys have actually gone side by side a couple times in turn 1 and 2, and even in 3 and 4 at one point. They've been pretty closely matched. So if these guys are battling with each other, they may not be hyper focused on their mirror and see that number 6 coming up behind them. They may pose a bit of a challenge. Of course, John's done a great job getting through traffic so far tonight, but you never really want. Oh, one of them actually tags the wall in front of John. That's going to slow him down. Side by side again. This gaggle of cars might be a challenge for our leader.
Yeah, trying to make out who that is in front of our leader. Alex Princeton is the first car directly in front of him in that number 9 Bobby Allison-esque machine. He's going to turn 2 is probably the worst place to catch somebody, and that's where Delaney caught him. Kind of got waffled up there off the exit of the corner, slowed up, and he will manage to get by entering 3. Not sure if that really cost him any of his gap or not.
I don't think it slowed him down a whole lot. The cars ahead of him, Patrick Muchet, he's the one that tagged the wall earlier. He's been battling with Tanner Marty. I think he's just a little off the pace after that wall hit, so I don't think John's got to worry about them going side by side now. He can kind of handle them one at a time, which is a big relief for him, I'm sure.
Yes, it is. Gap, I will say the gap was close to a second, not trying to force some drama that doesn't quite exist, but it is down to roughly 0.6 of a second. As maybe it's Delaney just going a little bit extra cautious through traffic, and Hicksonbaugh just going a little bit more aggressively because he knows he has to, but the gap is stabilizing. If anything, Hicksonbaugh is kind of being the beneficiary more laps than not.
Yeah, he definitely seems to be getting through lap traffic a little bit quicker, and of course that's to be expected. When you're the lap car, the only car that laps you that matters is the leader. He's the only one that can put you another lap down, and everybody behind him, well, it doesn't really matter. So you're not going to fight them quite as hard as you're going to fight the leader. So it makes sense that, Bryson's kind of getting through there a little quicker. But so far, I mean, again, Delaney has the car to beat, and we've seen that proven lap after lap. So as long as he keeps a cool head, I think he can afford for these cars to slow him down a little bit. He can afford to be a little patient and still hold on to this lead.
Yes, he does. And, like you said, he can hang on to the lead. And I think if he's probably saving a little bit of NOS in the tank there, if he needs to turn the jets on, he can. That's something that a lot of leaders will do when they have the dominant car, is they'll drive at 80%, knowing that they have that little bit extra in the bag. Which, if anything, it's kind of insult to injury for the second place guy, because you think that you're gaining. You think that, hey, I got the better cars. Look at Hicksonbaugh getting bogged down in traffic, slaloming down the back straightaway between Marty and I think that's Edwards in your favorite car, Andre. Some interesting situation there, and that was about 0.3 lost.
Yes, my favorite car. The car that almost got Chad fired from my team.
Indeed, so didn't work out too well there. Now that gap, just like that, goes back to 0.7. His turnaround is fair play. Delaney scrapes the fence over there. He's behind Hickenbottom, league admin. That slowed him down much more than Hicksonbaugh was slowed down the lap before. Now that gap is eliminated down to 0.3.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, he got right into the back bumper of DeMars. I'm not sure what happened there. I feel like John had to know that he was closing in on him. He didn't have any other cars around him that were boxing him behind the double O. So I'm a little confused, but I mean, sometimes John Delaney is an enigma, and it doesn't seem to matter because he's still got the lead by 0.4, our favorite number of the night, apparently. 0.4 over Bryson Hicksonbaugh. We'll see what Bryson can do with a little bit of clean track.
Whoa, he can get loose off of 4. That's what Delaney can do there, but he didn't lose any time.
Yeah, Delaney, he's been loose quite a bit, and honestly, I think that's just the setup of this car. I've watched him navigate these corners, and he is sliding. I mean, just dirt tracking it out of these corners. And again, like you said, just not losing time. So I feel like that's what the car is built to do. And I mean, hey, loose is fast. If you can drive a car like that, good on you. But man, that is terrifying to watch.
It is, and I'm kind of very curious to see that if the tires, once you have those big wiggles, it really does upset those rear tires. It gets those rear tires upset, and when it does, they don't really ever recover. You don't really see a tire light up like that, cool down, and be fine. Typically, once you burn the tire like that on a big wiggle, the car is progressively worse for the rest of the run. And where we still have 32 laps to go, that's a lot of time to have to deal with a right rear tire that's mad at you.
Here's something interesting. So Sean O'Brien Jr., I believe that is him, isn't it? No, Taylor Stout came out of pit road, and he is actually in front of our leader right now. Now that is our leader's teammate, so he's not going to give him much of a hard time. He's going to dive down to the bottom, let him go. But I was just interested to see a car coming out of pit road so late in the race, because I knew Sean O'Brien Jr. had just pit a lap or two prior as well. So Taylor Stout, Sean O'Brien Jr., those guys electing to pit. Not sure if that was scheduled for either of those drivers, but that is going to put a bit of a buffer car between Bryson and John.
Yes, it will. And again, the gap, it's just been going crazy with the lap traffic, and it's just hard to tell. Maybe Delaney has shaken the rust off and got himself back where he needs to be. That we were up to 7/10 down to 3/10. Now we're back up to a second. So maybe, if anything, maybe he was tight getting loose that couple times. Maybe that kind of put some artificial wedge into the car and made him the looseness he needs to fire off these quicker laps, because now he's really getting out there. 1.1, 1.2 seconds.
Patrick Michet came across a driver radio a moment ago, said he was pitting in. I'm starting to wonder how good on fuel these guys are, because that's the fourth car that I've seen come down pit road.
Yeah.
There it is.
I've lost my stint graphics, though. I don't quite have the distances, Andre, but I know we talked about it around 55, 60 to go. Now, that's probably the longest. I'd say 65 would be the longest you'd probably go. Maybe 70. Again, I'm not too sure. But 70 laps on tires might be to that point where splitting it might mathematically be faster. Again, I don't want to be the calculator. I've done that far too much tonight.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what our leaders decide to do. I thought they could make it much closer to the end, if not flat out make it with the cautions that we had and where they were kind of spaced out. But maybe that is not the case, as numerous drivers are coming down pit road. And if these guys do have to pit again, that's going to shake things up quite a bit. I mean, Bryson is not far behind Delaney. We've seen how much time you can make up with a short pit, something like 2 seconds a lap, which is quite immense. As the leader getting caught up a little bit in lap traffic, he's going to get around him on the outside. But yeah, that could get real interesting if these guys have to pit.
It would, and if you are going to pit, I mean, there's two ways to look at it. Do you wait to the absolute last possible second on the hope, or just caution, just being safe in case a caution does come out? Or do you pit as early as physically possible under the assumption that most people probably can't make it, and just try to, full yeet, if you will, and try to use all those fresh tires up?
Yeah, that's a hard call to make. I don't know what I'd do as a driver. I think these guys are in a bit of a tough situation. Number 63 working his way around Devin Medeiros, and that number 20 Jimmy Johnson throw back. I believe that's Johnson's first Cup scheme from like 2003-ish, whenever he debuted. Quite a nice car indeed. But the gap between our leader and second place now 1.4 seconds. So John starting to sail off into the sunset, literally and figuratively, as the sun is dropping. And that backstretch is getting pretty bright. And that is something these drivers face towards the end of this Darlington race in the spring. The sun kind of puts itself right in position to be glaring in their eyes through that windshield down the backstretch, and it can sometimes hinder your ability to get into 3 and 4, because you have to slow down so early for that corner, and you really can't see what your braking marker is at that point.
Yeah, even from an iRacing perspective, they did model that quite well. And I personally am a virtual reality driver, where on tracks where you kind of have the sun in your face, it is literally blinding. And I've entered corners before where I said, hey, I think the corner is about here, so maybe this is a good time to turn. Like, it can be very significant. Not so much now just because of timing. I don't think it's going to be too big of a deal, but it is definitely a factor that's modeled. And as you said, definitely a factor at Darlington in real life, and depending on the time of year.
Yeah, and it is kind of starting to show up in this race. I mean, if you look at the backstretch, it's pretty shiny. The sun is glistening off the surface, which does a lot to kind of reflect up into that windshield. So a little bit of a change that these guys have dealt with. The gap is now 2 seconds from John Delaney back to Bryson Nixonbaugh. And actually, Adam Benefiel has caught Bryson, so we got a bit of a battle for second here. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Benefiel is pretty much at his best. Peak Adam Benefiel is at the end of the race every time. This is a guy who just gets faster and faster all night long until the race ends. And I'm telling you, if this was a 10-hour endurance race at the Nürburgring, he would be fastest in the 10th hour.
And me, I would be wrecked out on lap 1 because I just can't drive that place. But that's just me. But yeah, he's definitely, we've seen Nixonbaugh have that short run speed. He got within 3/10, and we thought we had a battle for the win on our hands. And all of a sudden, ooh, 2 seconds back, just dropped like a rock. And a little bit of a wiggle there for Benefiel off of 2. But it manages to keep it going and not really lose much time from it. But again, the biggest fear in this race, we're going to probably have the longest tire stint of the race. And you don't want to make those tires upset when you're going to be on them for the longest you've been all race.
I agree. Now, we do have a driver in the infield care center, Sean O'Brien Jr., driver of the 65. Let's bring him up if I can. You got a copy, Sean? Sean O'Brien, you got a copy? All right, good talk, Sean.
I guess the infield doctor must still be examining.
Maybe.
Oh, he's done.
Just had done the concussion test.
Look directly at the flashlight, Sean. I need to see if your pupils are dilating. You all right there, Sean?
2 fingers.
Incorrect. It was 1. Well, Sean, you had an eventful night, to say the least. You gave us a bit of a scare on the backstretch, kind of fishtailing it back and forth. You kind of caught it and slid up into the wall in the corner there, and got back out on track after you got that damage fixed. But unfortunately, Lady Luck was not shining upon you tonight, and the race came to a bit of an early end. What was it like racing out there, man? Is Lady in Black just as tough as it usually is?
Oh Lord, I mean, it's just compounded with this car. I mean, this car on an easy track is 10 times harder than it was last year, and then you come to a place like here where you could be driving a street stock and it's hard, and you just get these cars which are already as squirrely as they are. It's like driving a dirt late model.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of drivers struggling with the handling. What about the aero factor? We haven't really noticed dirty air playing much of a fact on the field, and it seems like you guys are able to race around each other pretty close. How's that out there?
Yeah, it's a lot funner than it was, in the past couple of years when we had high downforce, low power. We got that small blade, got some horsepower back. These big old tires on makes racing a little bit better. I was able to hang with some of the guys up there after I got my speeding penalty. I was still able to be kind of fast, even with some damage. But I don't know. I guess that's this car. It's supposed to close the gap, and then you get John dominating every week. So.
All right. Well, while we got you, Sean, moving away from your accident there, because I'm sure you'd rather forget that if you haven't already from the concussion. You got a driver for your team in the top 6 right now, Jason S. Taylor in that number 12. I want you to settle a debate for us. Is the animal on the side an alpaca or a camel?
Yeah, we're rooting on Jason. Good run for Ryan. He just had to pit for fuel because he was short, but hopefully he can get back up there in the top 10. But sucks for me and Randy, but if Jason can sneak a top 5, that'd be pretty dope, pretty good.
You're dodging the question, Sean. Camel or alpaca?
It is an alpaca.
All right, that's what we wanted to hear.
I'm the one who made it.
All right, well, but in all seriousness, yeah, your team is having a pretty good night in regards to Taylor, and Samuelson is having a pretty good night as well, 13th. So we'll let you get back to him, maybe join in a supportive role there, and got him to a good finish.
Hopefully, thank you.
I was right. It's an alpaca. That's all I cared about in that interview.
Yeah, well, I think you got more rights in this race than I have, and and pretending to guesses. So I'll give you the credit for that. But while all this is going on, Andre, we're essentially we're 14 laps to go. So this race is essentially in its waning stages. I do see a couple guys, multiple laps down, headed down pit road, and what do we have right here?
And if
Producer jumping his seat there, but looks like everything is a-okay around Adam Benefield.
Benefield got into the 54, kind of put him in the wall there, came across the radio, said, that was my fault, sorry. But everybody keeps it straight, no yellow flag, 13 to go, and Jonathan Delaney still out to that 3-second lead.
Yeah, so at this point, it seems as though everyone is going to be good on fuel and tires. I know we had a slight question mark on it, but I mean, I think if they were going to, they would have done so already, or maybe they run dry to the last drop. I mean, we don't know, but it doesn't seem as such that it's going to be of a significance. So I guess the question will still be that battle for second. That's pretty much the only live battle, at least kind of in the top 15 at the moment.
So Cameron Stone just came across the driver radio as he saw Jonathan Delaney coming up to lap him, and he said, and I quote, "Can you not?" And John said, "Unfortunately, I have."
Really low down the back straightaway. Sorry to cut you off there. I don't know if he got loose off of 2. Yeah, he certainly did. He had a huge wiggle off of 2 there, so that'll definitely make those rear tires more mad.
Oh yeah, his tires are going to be screaming at him now. He's also got some rear end damage that he did not have a moment ago. I'm not sure where he got that, but Adam Benefield does inherit P2 with that bobble out of the 63. So Bryson was up there making his bid at it, kind of falling back. We'll see if in the limited time that we've got left, 10 laps at the line, maybe Adam Benefield can reel the leader in a little bit. But man, barring a caution, I think this is Delaney's race to lose.
Yeah, but even with a caution, I mean, we've seen this, the way that Delaney restarts, we don't have a quote-unquote Geico restart zone here. So essentially your restart zone is almost 1,000 feet long with how you can do it, which makes it really hard for the competition to hang with Delaney. He can go whenever he wants, and he always gets those massive jumps. So even with a caution, I'm still giving it to the 6 unless absolute catastrophe strikes.
We do have a car slow on the apron coming down pit road. Michael Christopher in the 70 is bringing it down into the pits. Looks like he's got some damage on that machine. Doubt that's a scheduled stop. Lucas Hoitzman working his way around Ralph Hutchison, who is a lap down.
So we are in single digits at this point. Coming 9 to coming down to 8 to go. Again, just kind of giving a quick little summary of events. Remember, John Delaney's fired off from the 37th position here tonight. He ended up getting to the front via some pit strategy and some fresher tires. Managed to get to the front, win stage 1, win stage 2, and he's going for the clean sweep here tonight. If he can complete 7.5 clean laps around Darlington, he's going to have essentially the perfect race.
Yeah, you can't ask for much of a better race than this. I mean, now I don't even think he's got a Darlington stripe. He's tapped the wall a few times, but as far as the damage model is concerned, I don't really see a dent on that right-hand side. So very clean car, very clean race so far. No mistakes either. I mean, he's been flawless on pit road, flawless on the track. He's never really even had that big of a bobble. He's gotten a little squirrely coming out of the corner a time or two, but again, I think that just comes down to that's what the car is built to do. I mean, he's got this setup dialed into where he's got it pretty much wrecking loose on exit quite intentionally, but he's never really had a moment where he gets loose and has to chase it down the apron or anything like that. It's just been a phenomenal night for that number 6.
Yeah, he's just doing exactly what you need to do, and I'm still trying to figure out where we are at next week. I've completely just drawn a blank there, but we'll see if the trend can continue. Delaney, I think this is going to be his 4th win, if I get my stats right, on the season. They'll break the tie with Nick Ottinger. Remember Ottinger, the part-time peak driver who hasn't really played with us for the last few weeks, so his playoff eligibility is kind of a question that we all have to answer, but definitely it will give pivotal playoff points for Delaney, even more of a bonus heading into the end of the season championship.
So to answer your prior question, as the league does mirror the real-life NASCAR schedule, I went ahead and opened up the NASCAR app, and we're going to Kansas next week. So that should be a fun race. Kansas is always a good time. A lot of highline racing, a lot of drafting. Back with the Gen 6, Kansas kind of became a pack race, but I think with this car, it's going to be a lot more of a driver's track. It's going to be fun to watch. So tune into that next week. But in the meantime, don't go anywhere because we still have some racing right here as Jonathan Delaney is cool. He caught
Heavy traffic.
at the worst time too, Corey.
That's Drumhiller in front of him, and remember, league admin Damaris Hickenbottom kind of cost him his gap earlier. Went from a second to 3/10 when he was getting by that 0-0. Luckily, he has much more of a buffer this time, but that gap was about close to 3 seconds. He is losing a little bit now, but he has more than enough buffer and not a lot of laps to have to worry about. But definitely taking a sweet time getting around this 0-0, if it looks like.
He lost a second that last lap due to the lap traffic, and he still hasn't quite got around to Mars. Here he goes down to the bottom. This will do it. And he's clear of him now, but I'm curious to see what the gap is when they cross the line this time because he lost a second the lap before. I would assume he lost at least a few tenths right there. So that's in favor of Benefield as he takes lap 292. So it's going to be 2 more times around the lady in black or as you said, the lady in gray for Jonathan Delaney. 2.2 seconds back to the leader. So Adam could be a second a lap faster, and he still wouldn't get to him. So nothing to worry about for this Mark Martin throwback. He's working his way down the backstretch around Chad Edwards in that Ken Schrader throwback through 3 and 4. He's going to be taking the white flag this time with no pressure from behind, Corey.
Yep, and once we hit that white flag coming off of turn 4 now, once that white flag flies, the yellow gets thrown in the garbage. We will take the checkers one way or another. So leading stage 1, winning the stage. Stage 2, dominating, winning the stage. Here he comes for stage 3. The one that matters, the trophy, the points, the money, the fame, comes down the back straightaway for the final time.
Through 3 and 4. Nobody in front, nobody behind. It's a clean track for Jonathan Delaney, channeling his inner Mark Martin with a very consistent and smooth race. Bit of a celebratory wiggle coming out of 381. Not sure I'd take a risk like that. But there he goes, taking the check, winning at Darlington for the 100% Cup Series. Drivers coming across the radio congratulating him after a dominating performance. And it looks like the podium drivers behind him are going to be Adam Benefield in second, Bryson Hixenbaugh in third. Only a few tenths between those guys, and Lucas Hoytsma just missing out on a podium in fourth. Alex Murray is rounding out the top 5. But for now, it is time for Jonathan Delaney to get back to that start-finish line and burn this thing down.
Yes, it is, and luckily we don't have a camera crew forcing him for an interview. We'll let him do his thing and collect ourselves for the post-race show in just a moment. We'll see how he does choose to celebrate. Again, Mark Martin had a lot of success here in the real world at Darlington, and here he does burning it down at straight away for, again, probably one of the most important races of the season. Everyone looks forward to Throwback Night all season, and getting that trophy tonight must feel good.
Absolutely, especially at a track where Jonathan's proclaimed rival, Bryson Hixenbaugh, is so good here. I mean, he thought he was going to be the guy to beat. Everybody was a little bit nervous about that 63. So to come out, dominate the race, and kind of take that title of being the best here at Darlington, that's just icing on the cake for this number 6. As he's going to spin it around again. Maybe, where's he going? He's down on the apron, working his way towards the inside. I don't think he's going to burn it down there. I was going to say, I don't think Darlington's track scan has any interesting areas to go in the infield. But here is your final running order for the Throwback 400 and the 100% Cup Series. Jonathan Delaney, LDR, taking the win, and as you said, win number 4 on the season. Adam Benefield, P2. Bryson Hixenbaugh, P3. Lucas Hoytsma, 4th. Alex Murray, 5th. Jason Taylor and Robert Anderson, 6 and 7. Cameron Stone, P8. Bringing back a top 10 after a bit of an up and down night. Not bad. Devin Medeiros with a quietly impressive run. We didn't talk about him much tonight, but to get in the top 10 and be there at the end of it, that is solid. Kevin Steele brings it home in 10th. And as I accidentally minimized the graphic, there we go. 11th is going to be Hodgson, followed by Samuelson, Hutchinson, Long, Muchet, Root, Ammon, Hickenbottom, Taylor Stout, and Chad Edwards rounds out your top 20, Corey.
Yep, and then Tanner Marty in 11th, Alex Princeton in 21st, Alex Princeton in 22nd, Mason Lowry 23rd, Mike Christopher 24th, Sean O'Brien, we talked to him mid-race, as well as Randy Drumhiller there 25th and 26th respectively. Cody Bird, again, commentator curse, kind of ruined his day, 27th, Rob Tracy, Chad Sander, and Robert Miller, we talked about him, had a great run earlier in the race, but big wreck took him down to 30th, and Blake Giglio got a good run, 31st, unfortunately for him. Then rounding out your field, Rel, Mobley, Pierce, McRae, Jason Baker, Ryan Ducombe, Sammy Bury, JC Gibson, and shotgun on the field is Jordan Sailors.
And there you have it, the final running order for the race, where your favorite driver ended up. Now it's time to get into some post-race interviews. We're going to start out with third place. He's with Corey Silva. Here is Bryson Nixonbaugh.
All right, Bryson, you had a great car tonight. I don't think anybody had anything for the 6, but you had some at times, and ultimately in the end, it was a good battle with you and Benefiel, but this kind of battle of the loose cars at the end fell back to third. Talk about your night, my friend.
Yeah, I had a really fast car early on. Definitely knew that John was going to be fast there. I saw his speed last night. We didn't really make any improvements, but we couldn't find anything. He just had us covered all night. It was really fast early. I don't know what was going on at the end of the race there. It was loosest that it's ever been, and that was just sliding around, couldn't get on the throttle. I did a lot of testing in this weather because it was going to be the end of the race. I knew that'd be important, and it was way tighter than this. So I don't know really what went on there, but had a lot of fun holding on to it and racing at him there at the end of the race. It actually looked like what you see on TV, hopefully.
Yeah, it's kind of shades of old school Johnson and Gordon at Atlanta, if we will bring back the sliding and trying to gain positions. But you did come very close within, I think it was 0.3 of a second or so of Delaney at the very end with lap traffic. Lap traffic seemed to be really, really harsh there, and then obviously you kind of fell back. How was it getting through traffic with all the damaged cars and different paces throughout the course of the race?
Yeah, it's tough. It's always tough at Darlington. There's good and bad places to catch people, and sometimes you don't pick which one you get. So it's lap cars did a great job trying to get out of the way, trying to make sure that they were places that we knew they would be. They weren't erratic out there. They'd lift and let you clear them going into the corner. So a lot of guys were doing a great job with that, but it's just part of Darlington.
It is, and you walk away with a podium. Probably not quite the trophy you want, but still a good finish nonetheless. Who do you want to give a shout out to for tonight's efforts?
I'd like to give a shout out to my teammates at ASMR. It's the first time I've actually finished in the top 3 for a broadcast race this year. Had a rough time, but got ASMR their podium here on the broadcast. Teammates Kevin Steele finished 10th. Couldn't quite make up time from his penalty under green, but he ran great anyways. Preston and Cody had a little bit of a rough time, but they still ran good, and thanks for helping them out.
All right, congrats again, and we'll see what you can do next week at Kansas.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
And Andre has caught up with second place of Adam Benefiel.
Mr. Benefiel, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, Adam, a couple weeks ago, you were saying that this season has not been the best for you. It's been a little bit rough, but I'll tell you what, these last few seasons have been barn burners for you, and you're bringing home P2 tonight. Seems like things are turning around for you, man.
Yeah, tonight, car was junk. It was just pure natural talent. All around BA behind the steering wheel. Car didn't really do nothing to help me. Just mad skills and determination. That's what got the job done tonight.
So using your pure talent, you were able to race up through the field, and late in the race had a bit of a moment with Bryson Nixonbaugh. He got a little loose in front of you. You were able to navigate around him. Was that kind of the running theme? Was everybody just struggling with a loose condition tonight?
I think it was intimidation. Honestly, he looked in the mirror and he seen that throwback DMP WR1 Chevrolet, and he got nervous. I can't help it. I have that effect on some people. But hey, you'll have that on them big jobs.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, I'd be terrified. We're going to Kansas next week, Adam. I know that track's going to be a lot different than the last time we visited that place. I mean, completely different package. I'd imagine it's going to be a whole lot harder to drive. You looking forward to it?
You know, it's just like this place. It's got 4 corners and 2 straightaways, and one of them's got a little curve in it on the front. So you know, don't need a GPS to get around it. So we'll take the natural talent and go there and probably piss some people off.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it for one. So, before we let you go, Adam, congratulations on P2. Is there anybody that you'd like to shout out or thank?
I'm sorry. I'm not really like that, people. Yeah, I got to thank all the guys at Team Conti. Me and Bryson, we didn't really get to put a lot of work into it, but besides last night, really. And, you know, John just was on a whole nother level tonight. We had nothing for him. Just couldn't find a balance. So, but yeah, appreciate all the hard work they do, letting us come over here and hang out. WR1, Filter Time, especially Filter Time. My son, I'm sorry, I got to take a second. My son is racing his first soapbox derby race next weekend. And Dale and Blake at Filter Time stepped up and put their name on the side of the car for that race. So that's pretty cool. Hopefully we get the job done for them. Wife for letting me come in here and do this on Saturday nights. You guys for letting me act like a fool in front of all these wonderful people that's watching. And D and Kevin for putting on just an awesome league. It's so much fun. Hopefully next week we can come back a little bit better car and you know, have another good result. We're finally turning the results around, and hopefully we'll get Audie back and D Shao. So hopefully we'll have the whole crew next week.
All right. Well, that'll be quite a show with those guys showing up. Can't wait to see it. Thanks for your time, Adam, and congratulations.
No need to congratulate me. Like I said, it's all talent.
All right, Adam.
All right, dude. See ya.
And that was Adam Benefiel out of the booth. And now Corey has caught up with our race winner, John Delaney.
I do just have to comment on how amazing it is that he could say all that straight-faced, first of all. So full credit to Benefiel. But we got Delaney here. We got John Delaney, again, 37th to first. We talked to you at the end of the stage, and you felt you were having a ball. You had a great car. You ended up sweeping the whole night tonight. We didn't see you put a wheel out of place. I'm sure something happened, but we didn't tell. To summarize your night tonight, man.
Yeah, I mean, if honestly, if I had to choose a track where I had to start at the back, it would not be this track. This would be probably at the bottom of the list. So I first of all, I really didn't know how, if I was gonna make it past, the first stage, trying to make it through all the cars, trying to work my way up. But we were able to just kind of pick them off one at a time, take it real nice and easy. And we got that caution there, kind of stacked us up all together, and I was able to go get Bryson there for the stage win. And then we kind of just kept the lead the entire time, just kind of, played the right strategy for both stages. I was getting a little nervous there towards the end. I kind of thought I did the wrong strat with, staying out while everyone else did it. So I was, just trying to save the set, if there was any cautions towards the end. So I was getting a little worried there because I think Adam would have been really close if that would have went green to the end. But yeah, I mean, car was insane fast. It was crazy. It was just fast all night, and really couldn't ask much more from it.
Yeah, we saw. Well, it seemed like Hixenbaugh could stay with you on the short run, but overall you would pull away about 15 laps into it and you would kind of drive away. But we saw with the lap traffic at the end, and I did ask Bryson this, that lap traffic at the end really started to cause a little bit of issue. You'd have about a second and a half lead. All of a sudden it got down to like 3/10. And luckily for you, I think he had more problems than you did, and you were able to pull it back away. But what was that like when you essentially lost your entire lead? How are you feeling in that moment?
Oh, it's just head down, try not to look in the mirror, and just drive it as hard as you can. Get, as close as you can to the wall without hitting it. Because to be fast here, you got to try and get as close as you can to that wall in both turns. So, it was really just the key. I knew I had, because it was a longer run. I knew I had the long run on them, so as long as I just hit my marks and just didn't wall it, I was going to be perfectly fine and be able to pull away from them. And hopefully we don't get held up by the lap cars. So yeah.
And then next week we head to Kansas, which is going to be a completely different ball game from Kansas circa 2021, where obviously we have the next gen car and the surface updates that were done via iRacing to Kansas, so it's not quite as highline and handsome as it used to be. What are you looking forward to as we head there?
I hate to break it to you, but I don't. I think it's going to be single file around the top the entire time. Done some testing there. It doesn't seem too positive that we'll be able to run the bottom. So, we'll have to see how it is, during the officials next week. But you got to set up loose there to be pretty quick. So, and you got to be as close as you can to the wall as well, just kind of like how we are here at Darlington. So, I don't know. We'll see what we can do. They did reduce the draft, so that's definitely going to spread things out a lot more than they have. So, if that's one thing that they've done, that's definitely something that I've looking forward to kind of spread out the racing a little bit.
All right. We'll see. I was hoping they fixed it a little bit better. Clearly not, but we'll see indeed what happens next week.
Yeah,
Who do you want to give a shout out to for your victory tonight, man?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the car was a rocket. I got to give a huge shout out to Ralph Hutchison. He was the main person who put a lot of time into this car. He was the man. And same thing with Matt Long and Taylor Stout. They did an awesome job with this car. But everyone at Lockdown Racing, Sparko, MPI, Maconi Setup Shop, Dude Wipes, all their sponsors at Lockdown Racing for supporting us. Just all of them. Thank you guys up in the booth for broadcasting this. The admins. See, family watching at home, everyone watching at home. Thanks for watching. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right. Well, congrats again, and we'll see what you got next week.
Yep. See you guys. See you guys next week.
John Delaney out of the booth, and that is going to conclude our post-race interviews and just about going to wrap up our post-race coverage. Corey, it was a fascinating night, to say the least. It was, there wasn't really any trends. I mean, we had a lot of green flag racing. We had a bit of a cluster of cautions, a little bit of everything. What are some of your closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think it was interesting just to kind of see the progression of how this race went, Andre, where, we started off 150 some odd laps clean and green, and it just kind of, we had a little bit of, hodgepodge in the middle, for lack there of a better term, and then it ended up cleaning and, running clean and green to the end. But on the end of the day, the cream always rises to the top, and it's going to take some serious work from some driver to take this title away from the six. He has the season. He has the car, he has the team, he has all the resources he needs, but that's why we have about 25 more races to see how that shakes out.
I also want to point out one last thing before we close. We were kind of focusing in on that 28 and his loss of pace at the end of the race. Well, I now know why. He mentioned in Discord that he miscalculated fuel. So he didn't quite take enough, and he had to conserve just to make it to the end. He crossed the line with 0.1 gallons in the tank. So that is why he was dropping back. He was doing it quite intentionally to save fuel. So a bit of a misstep there, not taking enough fuel, but what a recovery to be able to take that fuel and get it all the way to the end with a decent finish. So that is going to do it for us here at the Throwback 400. If you guys want to see some more action like this and full-length racing, tune in next week. We're going to be at Kansas, and I know John didn't do a good job selling the racing product there. Nobody said that he was the best marketing agent. But I, for one, think it's going to be a great race, and I can't wait to see you there. I've been Andre Graham Bush, joined alongside Corey Silva, and of course, producer Carlos Acosta, pushing the buttons, bringing all the actions to your TV and computers. We will see you next week.
Have a good one, everyone.